2024 sure did have movies. Debatably, 2024 was a much quieter year for film compared to 2023. There wasn't that huge barrage of bombastic blockbusters like last summer, which made for a year more focused on surprising indie films to break out into the spotlight. But how do they all stack up against each other? Which ones surpassed all expectations and which ones failed to deliver? Just how embarrassing can my takes get? All that and less will be answered today. Welcome to every movie of 2024 ranked.
He was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before she died.
It should be illegal for movies to be as bad as Madam Web. This movie was made to punish people that like comics and also everyone else on Earth. Where do I even start? How do you explain how something is bad when literally everything about it is bad? This movie is flawed to a fundamental degree. The sheer concept of a Madam Web film is absurd. She's a C-list Spider-Man character that no one really cares about or is like a huge fan of in the first place. So to give her a starring feature film where she's nothing like her comic counterpart just doesn't make sense to me no matter how you look at it. But then you go on and hire the writers of Morbius, and that just baffles me even further in a matter not thought possible. Yes, the geniuses that wrote Deadly to Bats, Fatal to Humans are back to deliver absolute bangers like But I don't have a neuromuscular disorder, and why have you always hated me? And guys, please don't fight. And
He was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before she died.
Reading those lines, I almost can't blame everyone for consciously deciding to do the worst performances of their careers. I think this movie put Dakota Johnson on suicide watch. If you look into her eyes in every interview, you can see that she's on the verge of strangling everyone else in the room. And poor Tahar Rahim practically had to film the whole movie twice, considering 99% of his lines are ADR for literally no reason. I watched Anyone But You just a couple days before I saw this, and the absolute world of difference between Sydney Sweeney's performances in both movies is staggering. It's like she unlearned acting. The editor is actively trying to sabotage the film and make every scene nearly impossible to follow coherently. Just nothing makes sense. Why does she leave to Peru in the middle of the movie? This may be the worst comic book film in like a decade, but it's also the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. This movie may have permanently damaged the careers of everyone involved, but it brings me so much joy. So, this may be the worst movie ever, but it's also the best movie ever. Maybe the real Madam Web was the friends we made along the way.
When's yours?
March the 3rd.
Gay boy.
We need a biopic with the familiarity of Nowhere Boy and the sexy drama of 50 Shades of Grey. But who do we get? Sam Taylor Johnson! Fuck you. Back to Black is the worst movie ever made. Bye. I get in a bad mood whenever I think about this. Remember Blonde? No? Cool, neither do I. It was a Marilyn Monroe biopic dropped on Netflix a couple of years ago, and it's the worst movie ever made. It's nothing but misery. It's torturous to sit through. It feels like suicide. Anyway, they made an Amy Winehouse version. It doesn't even fucking sound like her. Why does she sound like Waluigi? Why? What prompts someone to just display a person's worst moments and nothing else in a film? Do they hate her? They don't say anything about her life or why it went the way it did. They just tell you it did. They just felt like reminding you. Oh, thanks guys. Your big surprise, Sam Taylor Johnson. But turns out, when you only show one half of a relationship, it falls flat emotionally because we get none of the depth. I thought you would have learned. How do you do this twice? Don't watch this movie for any reason. You lose in every possible situation. It offers nothing to anybody. It's just awful at everything. It's above Madam Web because of the Miley Cyrus cameo.
I'm not allowed to talk about... This is so dumb. I'm not allowed to talk about any of my previous work.
What happened? How do you fall off this hard? When will the pain end? Zachary Levi, why have you brought us Harold and the Purple Crayon? A movie where you can see him have a midlife crisis in real time. $40 million. How much of that was money laundering? I don't like how similar this is to the Fat Albert movie, with the character being fictional in-universe and traveling to our world and being terrifying and going to Bill Cosby's house and getting... The only difference here is that the original author died 50 fucking years ago before movies were even invented, so like, it's just sad from the start. This disgusting man-child is running around looking for a dead guy, and it takes an hour for someone to tell him he died before he was even born. This is the dumbest shit ever. Should you even be allowed to call yourself a screenwriter after making this? Should Zachary Levi even be allowed to call himself an actor after making this? He's completely lost any and all sauce he might have had before. You might think it's unfair to judge his acting ability off Harold and the purple fucking crayon, but he gets lapped by the moose and the porcupine in this very movie, so like, you know, get fucked. They're not even good performances, but they're at least fine, which makes them Oscar-worthy by this movie's standards. Zooey Deschanel and Jermaine Clement look like they wanted to kill themselves by the end. What a waste of time from everyone involved. Except Zach. This is exactly what he should be doing with his time. His career doesn't have much left. It's still better than Shazam 2.
Wanna know how I got these scars? Well, I'm the Joker, baby!
Joker 2 perplexed me, then it intrigued me, and then it made me want to kill myself. Never before have I seen a movie that hates itself as much as this. Maybe Ghostmates. It's an excess of misery that actively criticizes its audience for purchasing a ticket, leading you to question why you even watch movies and have a withstanding interest in them. This film is a waste in almost any way something can be. A waste of time, a waste of money, a waste of talent, a waste of life. It's a fleeting apology for its own existence, and I really don't know why it was made. I don't know why the first one was made either, for that matter. Well, that's not entirely accurate. I know why Todd Phillips made Joker 1, but I don't know why Warner Bros. Made Joker 1. But alternatively, I know exactly why Warner Bros. Made Joker 2, but I have absolutely no fucking idea why Todd Phillips made Joker 2. It emanates resistance. It doesn't want to exist, and yet it does. There are no clear ideas on how to expand the first film's ideas or events. It projects a facade of pushing itself with introducing its musical elements, but those are so half-assed and unknowledgeable of how musicals are made that it feels more like a compromise than anything else. And it's less technically skilled than the first film too, with a lot less shot variety and a more boring, standardized look throughout. The only areas of improvement come with Joaquin's Joker characterization and the introduction of Harley. But even then, her inclusion is so superficial and surface level, nothing more than a tool to progress, or regress depending on how you look at it, Arthur's character. I do appreciate that they pulled back on the more overt Batman references. Those always pulled me out of the first film and made me realize how stupid all of this is. Yeah, they couldn't help themselves though, they still managed to shoehorn a Two-Face origin at the last second. It's clear that Todd Phillips' goal here was to subvert the hardcore fans of the first film, taking the triumphant ending of that movie and saying, actually, Arthur gets assaulted in prison and gets shanked in a dirty hallway and fucking dies at the end. Which, in and of itself, isn't a bad way to go. It's just that it doesn't subvert to some other crowd. It's specifically engineered to please no one. It's just a dour, pathetic, miserable story that was made just to vent Todd's frustrations about accidentally making a successful film. Joker 2 is compromised of frantic messages and angry lashing out that all comes together to say absolutely nothing. This film comes to you to say nothing, and ultimately leaves you regretting letting this conversation even start. It's a horrible, miserable, desperate excuse for a movie, and I hope to never be subjected to it ever again. And fuck this stupid ass pretentious French subtitle.
Brothers. You can't live with them, you can't live without them.
Brothers is a movie where Josh Brolin jerks off an orangutan and Brendan Fraser looks like the Heavy.
The end.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
I don't care, 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 I don't fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
I'm ugly and I'm proud! I am ugly and I'm proud! I'm ugly and I'm proud!
Is Is that what he calls it?
It's happened. We found it. We actually, finally found it. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the worst premise ever. Imagine if Divergent fucked the Maze Runner and then their offspring fucked itself. This is Uglies. In this universe, it's illegal to be ugly, so naturally they casted Joey King in the lead role. That's fucking mean, I'm sorry. Don't worry, it's alright. She has to have the self-worth of a Greek god to look at a movie called Uglies and be like, yeah, put my face on the front of every poster with giant text under it saying Uglies. You guys want to talk about the story? Well, you have to come back later when they actually write one. Ugly Longstockings is so fucking excited to become not ugly. Her best friend, Ugly Big Nose, becomes not ugly, and it worked out great. He called the cops on her because she's so fucking ugly. Luckily, Ugly McSmallfry was there, and now they're best friends. Wait, where's she going? Fuck! Ugly McSmallfry left Ugly Longstockings to run off to some guy, I think, that she heard about. From someone, somewhere. So Ugly Longstocking doxes her. In retaliation, Ugly McSmallfry gets yassified, and this is generally supposed to be a tragic emotional gut punch in the narrative. Ugly Big Nose died at some point during this, by the way. Don't worry, this other character just created the uglification serum, but uh-oh. Ugly McSmallfry is too based and won't take it. Don't worry though, our hero, protagonist of the year, Joey motherfucking King, Ugly Longstockings will willingly become yassified to test the uglification serum. Then the movie ends. That was Uglies. You have now experienced Uglies. Me and you, we're both ugly now. Joey King is firing on all cylinders here. Firing blanks! I'm not sure she knows what words are. She says things that might have been written, but neither of those are 100% confirmed. Brianna Zhu is just adorable in her own doesn't know how to act sort of way. I love the way she has a different personality in every scene. She can go from punk, to giddy, to tortured soul, to girl boss on a dime. I've never seen a character written so inconsistently that the actor deserves double billing for playing multiple roles. Other people are in this movie. Horrible characters, incomprehensible writing, fundamentally broken acting, absolutely horrid visuals on every level. What can I say? It was an Uglies of a time. But yeah, I guess it could have been better.
Santa with muscles.
There's a new Santa in town, and I know if you've been naughty or nice.
Do you think Santa stays in the North Pole because he, too, lives in fear of what he's gifted here on Earth? Red One is a curse against humanity, and we deserve it. Dwayne Johnson and his merry band of scam artists are back in the ugliest fucking movie I've ever seen. And I've seen Uglies! They blew their makeup budget on this Krampus scene, so the rest of the movie is filled with these hideous CGI ghouls that fill the movie with an underlying devilish feeling that seeps into the actual human actors and makes them feel like uncanny CGI models. Well, The Rock was an uncanny CGI model half the time, but other than that, everybody looked fake the whole time, somehow. I don't know if it's the abysmal green screen or just the everything of it all, but whenever there's a close-up on an actor's face or hand or something, it took my brain a second to parse whether it was animated or not. It made the whole movie feel like, to put it kindly, a fucking nightmare. Actually watching this movie is an eerie, uncanny experience that I simply do not recommend. The tone is at war with itself, unsure if it wants to lean into full whack comedy like Jake Kasdan's Jumanji's, or an actual action film with serious stakes like San Andreas or whatever. I think the film wants me to genuinely get attached to the story and what's at stake, but also there's a fight scene against giant snowmen with cartoon sound effects, and it's the worst thing I've ever seen. I just don't know what's supposed to be happening, or what the thought process behind these ideas even are. Everything's mismatched to the point of headache-inducing. To reiterate, it's a fucking nightmare. Want to talk script? Let's talk script. Fuck this script. I'm not convinced they didn't just take the script for Hobbs and Shaw and add Christmas words at random intervals. I hated every sentence that came out of these frauds' mouths. The most boilerplate action one-liners, but sometimes they say tinsel or jolly, so that makes it unique, I guess. Prep and Landing did it 15 years ago. It's like Hellboy 2019 got Christmas-themed DLC. It's sickening, and that's all it really comes down to. I've been constantly bringing up other movies because all Red One is an unfitting mismatch of other safe, deplorable films. It's the Dwayne Nexus point. There has never been a more Dwayne The Rock Johnson movie, and Chris Ryan Reynolds Evans isn't innocent either. He just wasn't in Baywatch, so it's not as fun to bully him. I kinda despise Red One, more for how thinking about it makes me feel rather than how I felt watching it. I am sickened, and I want nothing further to do with this. If only there was a good movie with J.K. Simmons as Santa Claus. Oh, wait! Megamind vs. the Doom Syndicate is DreamWorks entering their Disney Toon era. Again, I don't trust people that have strong feelings for this movie. This shit is not as big a deal as you think it is. This is nothing more than a glorified pilot episode for a Megamind TV show that I'm not going to watch. It really is just a waste of energy to actively discuss this like it actually exists. It is the exact definition of mid. Everything is done as lazily as it can be. All aspects are just below subpar. The writing is as flat as possible with jokes that took less than a second of thought to conjure up. Nothing interesting is done with the characters. Roxanne becomes mayor, I guess. Okay, whatever. I don't even want to talk about the animation because that'd be mean to the indentured slaves they hired. This was just made for 4-year-olds to stumble upon on Peacock and stream 80 times in a row, so you know what? Fuck it. I hope they keep doing this. Just make more shitty direct-to-streaming sequels to every DreamWorks movie. Except the ones I like. Don't you dare fucking touch those. None of this matters, and none of this is real, and I hate movies. How did Hollywood make killing Nazis so boring? The ministry of a potentially long title proves it is just not Henry Cavill's year. They should just give him Superman back out of pity. We gotta put a pause on Guy Ritchie until he figures out what the fuck he's doing, because he's just been constantly fumbling for the last 5 years. This is what happens to your brain when you make a live-action Disney remake. This movie is oddly patriotic considering it's about British people. The mindless killing is so American-coded that my brain stopped processing all the annoying accents and just defaulted to profiling everyone as a war criminal. The writing on display here is so weak and kinda embarrassingly lazy that it makes me question why anyone would sign on to this. I mean, Cavill is in all of Ritchie's movies lately, so I can only assume Guy has his family in an undisclosed location, but I can't imagine this was a very fulfilling artistic experience for anyone else. I don't want to think about this movie ever again, actually. It's making me mad. Just take a fucking break, Ritchie. You're washed.
Zack Snyder!
From the director of Rebel Moon Part 1 comes Rebel Moon Part 2, the Please Don't Compare Us to Dune Giver. In the exciting follow-up to whatever the last one was called, we finally see what happens after whatever happened in the last one. Okay, guys. Hot take incoming. I think I liked this one just a teensy-weensy bit more than Part 1. Not only was it thankfully shorter, but it significantly cut the fat out of the plot compared to Part 1. They only travel to one planet in this one. Never thought I'd be glad to see a lack of adventure in an adventure movie, but Snyder continues to break the mold. With all that said, this is still such an utterly pathetic and weightless installment in an utterly pathetic and weightless series. The characters have no character. The world has no intrigue. The aesthetics are confused. The plot is damn near non-existent. Honestly, I don't think you even need to watch Part 1 to fully, quote-unquote, appreciate Part 2. Like Dune, for instance. Yeah, you totally should watch Part 1 before Part 2. Not only to understand the story, but to fully appreciate the character arcs and writing. For Rebel Moon, I think watching both parts actually makes them less likable. The characters are so flat that it's not like you'll be missing out on anything, and all their backstories are only explained in Part 2 anyway. So Part 1 is kinda just a big waste of time in retrospect. If Snyder goes through with his 6-movie plan, it may just end his career. And yet despite all of that, I'm still kinda infatuated with where this is all going. The morbid curiosity in me wants to see how far this can be pushed until something, or someone, breaks. Zach, I know you're a real nice guy and you make it really hard to actually be mad at you. Please stop writing movies. Or keep writing them. I don't know, whatever makes Netflix lose more money.
Actually, this time, it's our turn.
Milo Manheim and Charlie!
Normally, I don't like punching down, but I don't know what I was expecting from a movie based on a show I already didn't like. This is not the last time I'm going to say that in this video. Maybe I was hoping a budget increase would put more finesse in the writing and everything. Maybe I was hoping a horrible tragedy would befall me and I wouldn't have to watch this. But alas, neither of those happened. I'm sorry, but these characters are just so boring. Nothing's ever funny, nothing's ever interesting, nothing's ever engaging. It's just the most cookie-cutter modern cartoon possible. And the writing. Good God, it's tragic. Not the plot or anything, no, I mean the actual quality. It's the most severe case of written exclusively by millennials I've seen in a while. The children talk like 25-year-olds. The grandma talks like a 25-year-old. The joke characters sound like joke characters written by 25-year-olds. I can't take it anymore. A whole universe populated by people that make Adventure Zone references by heart. And Gloria. I don't like her. And the songs were ass. Guys, please don't be scared to get different people to do the singing voices. It'll be okay, trust me. I don't know. It's just not for me. I'm sorry. I promise to never watch anything from this series ever again. Which isn't a tall ask, you know, but whatever.
I certainly hope you dance as well as you dress.
There's only one way to find out.
Argylle is the most unreal movie ever. As in, I'm not fully convinced this movie is real. Never before has a movie had such a lack of style or identity. It is impossible to have any emotion stronger than a blank glare as you merely bear witness to 139 minutes of generic action and flatlined humor. The story is so shallow, and it's made all the worse by the movie pretending it's way deeper than it is, which is severely undermined by how obvious every twist is. They don't even attempt to be subtle with the setups. They really lay it thick with some of these that you'd have to be dumb as fucking shit to not see these twists coming. It should be illegal to have this stacked a cast and misuse every single one of them. Literally everyone gives a sleeper performance that makes them all look like newcomers to the concept of movies. And honestly, I can't blame them with what they had to deliver. It would be embarrassed if they put their all into this garbage dialogue. Sam Rockwell never shuts the fuck up. I still don't know what the point of that stupid cat was. And dear God, where did that $200 million budget go? The green screening and CGI is so unbelievably bad it seriously looks worse than the Transformers Universal Studios ride. Last minute addition, I just read the Wikipedia article and found there was a post-credit scene I missed, the contents of which have cemented Matthew Vaughn's place in movie hell.
You fools! You've messed with the natural order!
The Crow is a complete failure. This movie had a way more tumultuous production history than the original, which is saying a lot because that movie killed a guy. This is just like bad. There really is no better descriptive for it. The direction is bad. The story is bad. The acting is bad. The writing is bad. The poster is bad. The idea is bad. The soda was good, but my liver is bad. There is only one scene, the penultimate opera house fight, that has a modicum of energy to it, and even then the editing can be shoddy and it's really just passable at best. Not to mention it takes like 50 minutes for him to become the Crow. You know how long it takes in the original? Like 10. And it's his first appearance. 1994 Crow's decision to unveil the story out of order was a simple but brilliant way to keep the audience intrigued and connected to Eric. So naturally 2024 Crow does everything in order. Everything. You have to sit through Eric and Shelley meeting and becoming the most obnoxious couple ever, and dying, and not dying. But before that, you have to see Eric watch a horse die as a child, which had nothing to do with anything, and Shelley go into prison, and oh my fucking God, we don't need to see every single step of the story. I'm begging you. The like 3 different love montages that happened back to back were driving me crazy. How is this the longest Crow movie, and yet has the least to say? What a pathetically sad and worthless film. It couldn't even be bothered to have a good soundtrack. Imagine losing to Crow's salvation.
Darn it! I forgot to turn on my poker subroutine. Can I get a do-over?
Your question is activating my rarely used giggle center. Tee
Borderlands is an unfunny, bloated, cliche, boring, embarrassing mess. So it's a perfect adaptation of the game. I really don't know what happened here. That's a lie. Tricked you. I know exactly what happened. Lionsgate thought Borderlands could be a movie. Boy, don't they feel stupid. These poor actors. Not only are they horribly miscast, like literally all of them somehow, but they just look so dumb in these costumes. If you want people to take your movie seriously, you do not put Cate Blanchett in shitty Cowboy Bebop cosplay. You guys want to talk script? Let's talk script. Fuck the script. If the writer of superhero movie asks to have his name removed from your movie, you know shit's gone left. I'm trying to think back to what even happens in this and I'm getting lost. It's a complete hodgepodge. They got me saying hodgepodge out here. It's a complete hodgepodge of ugly action and stupid characters just going through generic adventure-filled motions. What a complete waste of talent and world. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a movie that has fumbled its world building as hard as Borderlands does. Instead of exploring anything that makes this universe unique, they have Blanchett narrate some exposition and just leave it at that. It's so boring. And that's the greatest sin of all. They couldn't even be funny bad. They were just bad. It's all just bad in the most boring way imaginable. And that is unforgivable. You will never be Silent Hill Revelation. You may think that's a compliment, Eli, but I'm telling you, I'm being as disrespectful with that statement as I possibly can be. Now get the fuck out of my house. I'm sorry for watching a Woody Woodpecker movie because now I have to talk about it. Woody Woodpecker Goes to Camp is dog shit, don't get me wrong. It was also a teensy bit more competent than I was expecting. The animation was pretty good. Sometimes. They did this weird mocap thing with the buzzard character and it was kind of off-putting. There was one or two charming jokes. Not funny, just charming. And the voice actors did a good job. Just wish they had better dialogue to deliver. You know, I'd probably be nicer to this if it didn't feel like it was the longest movie ever made. I thought we were wrapping up and there was still 40 minutes left. Why does anything Woody Woodpecker related ever need to be this long? Why does anything Woody Woodpecker related ever need to be made ever again? If you still give a shit about this fucking guy in 2024, consider yourself my fucking enemy. I'm gonna take him out back and make him eat the curb. I could wrap my hands around his throat and choke the life out of him and I wouldn't feel a thing. If they wanted a good movie, they should have gotten a real Woody Woodpecker fan to direct. Like David Lynch.
Oh god. Oh my 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 god. Oh god.
Boy Kills World has no excuse. Why, man? Why can't I have this one thing? This movie is so disappointing. What should have been a fun, gory, exciting adventure film turned out to be an exhausting, mind-numbing, uninspired yawn of a movie. The writing is just so first draft. The characters are predictable in one note. The jokes don't give any reaction, and the story feels copy and paste from every other revenge movie ever. The only thing this movie has going for it is that the whole thing is narrated by Bob's Burger.
The day the Vanderkoys killed my family and left me deaf and mute.
Which is a choice. Don't know if it's a good or bad one, but it sure is one. The few saving graces here amount to Bill Skarsgård being charming and I guess it's shot well enough, but it's really just a whole lot of nothing. I probably most definitely should have just skipped it. But no, really, why was it narrated by Bob's Burger?
I didn't know there were bears in these woods.
Kraven the Hunter is boring. Yes, it's a technically better film than, say, Madam Web, but in terms of something I can point and laugh at, they really dropped the ball. Instead, Kraven makes the cardinal sin of just being boring as shit. The first 30 minutes I felt like I was watching Hannibal Rising, which is the worst movie ever made, so not off to a great start. This movie is just devoid of ideas, like in general. I swear, almost nothing happens in the 2 hours of runtime. It's just so much talking about hunters and family and I am a man of the wild, I have a code. And none of it means anything. It's gobbledygook. A non-existent mythology just to fill space between action scenes. The lifeless, ugly, absolutely nonsensical action scenes. Every time I tried to engage with whatever was happening, my brain immediately rejected it and continued to just stare in silence as another blurry mess of barely finished CGI slugged across the screen and added another 20 minutes to the runtime. I feel like Aaron Taylor Johnson just had no idea what to do with the character. His confused performance just adds to how unnecessary and inconsequential this movie's existence is in the first place. He can't play Kraven as just a straightforward, cocky Marvel hero because he's a sadistic murderer, but he can't play him villainous because he's supposed to be a protagonist going up against people worse than him. So he just flatlines into being a guy who's kinda cocky and mad sometimes, I guess. Again, he's not genuinely entertaining like Tom Hardy's Venom, but he's also not ironically entertaining like Dakota Johnson's Madam Web. He's just some fucking guy. I don't know. I guess Russell Crowe does fine. I kinda like Fred Hedginger. I'm sure he'll be in good movies soon. But then there's Alessandro Nivola, who's not only stuck with the worst interpretation of the Rhino ever conceived, but also gives a completely incomprehensible performance. I can't get a read on this guy. Is he going for menacing? Dastardly? Conniving? Gay? I have no idea. Maybe he's just European. All I know is that it fucking sucked. Kraven the Hunter falls flat in nearly all regards. It's not even worth laughing at. You might as well just avoid it at all costs. Rest in peace to the Sony Spider-Man universe. May you never come back ever. Please, please stay dead.
Professor, we're not aliens.
Sing the beginning of Moana.
What?
I said sing, goddammit!
I fucking told you! Moana 2 is an insult against humanity. A painfully dull and unnecessary cash grab that stands as one of the weakest major animated releases I've seen in years. It's almost impressive how flat this is. I could barely tell a story was being told. The characters were as interesting to follow as a corpse. The songs went in one ear and promptly disappeared into nothingness out the other. Moana and Maui could barely be described as having character, let alone arcs. The only thing that has a modicum of a chance at leaving any impact is the animation, which, while clearly made by a talented crew, is still as overproduced and teetering on obnoxious as a lot of Disney's other recent films. I've never seen anyone else bring this up, so I might be out of my mind saying this, but I am sick and tired of how characters move in modern Disney movies. It was especially egregious in Strange World, which might explain why no one has noticed this, but these characters are almost too expressive. I don't need their entire spinal column to contort just to say one word. It's so distracting and unfitting a lot of the time. Compare the character acting in Moana 1 and Moana 2, and you can see how much they've ramped up the pacing and elasticity of the movements, and how much less effective it comes across in the sequel. Who the fuck was this? The biggest casualty of this being a retooled TV show is the wealth of random characters clogging up the screen that serve no purpose at all. The boatmates are bad enough with how unfunny, annoying, one-note, useless, and utterly revolting their presence are, but this bat lady, her existence vexes me. She's not a villain, but she is. She's against the heroes, but also helps them. She's consistently present throughout the first 30 minutes, and then disappears until the post-credit scene. What purpose does she have left? I'm sure she had a lot more to do when this was a show, but when her role gets cut down so much she ends up doing literally nothing? What the fuck is the point anymore? Oh, well, they had to keep her song. That song sucked. They all did. Look, all I'm saying is if Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson ends up with the best song in your musical, then you're fucked. If you had a gun to my head and asked me to recite any of these songs, I'd ask you to send me to the Walt Disney meet and greet. So basic in their structure and unmemorable in their composition. It just might be the worst Disney soundtrack. Doggone wish all you want, but I at least remember what those songs sound like. The absolute worst thing a Disney song can be is not only bad to listen to, but completely unimpactful on the listener. That song on the boat about working together or whatever, oh my god, I wanted to rip my ears off. Lily Cravalho's perfect voice deserves so much better than this. We bullied Lin-Manuel Miranda too much and this is retribution. The most I can give Moana 2 is that it does pick up in the third act, mostly because everyone talks a lot less, but you know. The visuals were at their strongest, and there was some sense of engaging tension. It wasn't like amazing or anything, but the feeling of utter disdain within me did soften a bit. So there, you can't call me a negative Andy anymore. My expectations for this were low, and they still managed to disappoint. A remarkable feat of failure, I must say. Moana 2 is an embarrassing showcase of creative bankruptcy at its worst, shoveling out a useless retread that only serves to remind you of how good we used to have it. I can't wait to completely forget that this movie exists, and may the Walt Disney Company soon face the punishment it deserves.
Men to woman, or woman to men.
Man to woman.
From penis to vagina.
Emilia Perez is a movie about a lot of things I don't know too much about, but it does have Selena Gomez singing, and I know a lot about that. This movie tackles its deep themes and serious topics with the weight of my jokes. The musical half of this film almost completely deflates any passion it puts behind its words. The songs are too forced and too short to meld well with the story, so they end up actively taking away from the narrative and leaving the messaging muddled and poorly handled. The film overall is just dead on energy, clocking in at a completely unnecessary 132 minutes. This movie is boring as fuck. If I didn't have subtitles to read, I would have had that Family Guy running in no time. To give credit where it's due, there are moments of lively directing, and the performances are pretty solid all throughout, adding some sporadically engaging moments here and there. But still, those moments are not enough to stop Emilia Perez from ultimately just feeling like a misguided mess from top to bottom. I have absolutely no idea how this won awards at Cannes. This shit doesn't even deserve to get the Caniac combo.
It's time for our love lottery, where our love machine spins and matches who it thinks is the perfect couple. So, who's today's love match? It's Phoebe Thunderman and Henry Hart.
Am I allowed to be mad at the Thundermans Return for being a cheap follow-up to a cheap show I never even liked? Probably not, but I'm gonna do it anyway. This, isn't a movie. Or at least, it wasn't made like one. This doesn't even look an ounce better than the show. I had a whole rant about this last year when I reviewed Zoe 102, but basically, your average DCOM based on a pre-existing show usually looks the tiniest bit better than the show. This just looks like the show. The costumes might be better, I guess. But come on guys. I know you can try. You're the fuckers that made Zoe 102. The writing, the cinematography, the plot, the characters, it's all so bare bones and lazy. Ugh. But at the same time, this is the Thundermans Return, so I really don't know why I thought I was going to have fun with the show I've literally never even come close to liking before. All the blame kind of goes on me here. Why should I flame the movie when I'm the one that played myself? This was purely made for nostalgia, I guess. Nostalgia for something from 6 years ago. But the point is, this isn't for me. It's for people that watched Thundermans. I didn't think those people existed either, but no, it turns out they do. And they seem to enjoy it. So now I kind of feel like an asshole.
Grandma's died!
Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is just pathetic. Is this what we consider a blockbuster movie nowadays? An underwhelming, slow, flat, unimaginative, derivative, unfunny, absolute nothing of a movie. I don't know how we let it get to this point. When the fuck did we get to Ghostbusters 5? This movie had the idea of a plot. Not a good idea, but an idea nonetheless. The problem with that is that they forgot to actually put it in the movie. The whole movie is people telling you about what's going to happen until it happens in the last 10 minutes and then the movie ends. The closest thing to a character arc is McKenna Grace fighting for her right to bust, but it doesn't go very deep and moves at the speed of fucking molasses. And it's not like she doesn't get to bust. She busts throughout the whole movie. I'm pretty sure she busts more than anyone else does. Why is Dan Aykroyd in the whole movie? I thought the ending to Afterlife was a pretty cut and dry send-off to the OG Busters, and that the movie was basically telling us we weren't going to see them again. But then Frozen Empire comes along and it's all like, oh, well, the movie's called Ghostbusters. You gotta have the original Ghostbusters for the 300th time. And they don't even add anything. They just stand around looking old. This is the epitome of a sequel being made purely out of obligation. No one on Earth had a good idea for a 5th Ghostbusters, but Sony needs to ride the money train until it runs dry. So just get some hack who hasn't made a good movie in 20 years and force them to pump some trivial garbage out just to fill out a release schedule. You can tell this movie was absolutely massacred in the editing room. Characters would just appear in scenes they weren't in 2 seconds ago. We pick up on the 60 different plot lines at random intervals. Other plotlines get forgotten entirely. Half the shit from the trailers isn't even in the movie. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of forbidden 6-hour director's cut somewhere out there. I think we all owe Ghostbusters 2016 a very light apology. We've officially seen that it indeed can get worse.
Makes me feel good.
If you can't beat him, join him.
Mufasa the Lion King isn't even worth the trouble. The circumstances surrounding this movie's existence are already an exhausting exposition in the first place. This is a prequel to a remake to a movie which already had its own sequels that's based on Hamlet, but with lions. And even then, it still wouldn't exist if Tim Burton wasn't such a massive fraud. The simple fact of the matter is, Disney somehow tricked Barry Jenkins into making a prequel to a motherfucking Jon Favreau movie, and now we have to deal with it. Now, speaking of that Jon Favreau movie, it's a real piece of shit, isn't it? It's boring as hell, it has a stilted presentation, a complete massacring of a phenomenal story, it's super weird and annoying casting. I kinda really hate it. Thankfully, Mufasa only has like half of those. This is just such a nothing of a movie. I'll start with where this improves. The story is better, on account of it not being stolen. The music is infinitely better, on account of it not being stolen. I mean, sure, it's easily Lin-Manuel Miranda's weakest soundtrack, and I only really like one of the songs, but, you know, it's better than Moana 2, so that's gotta count for something. The characters are, well, they're kind of just as boring as the first movie, except for Timon and Pumbaa, who are so much more annoying for some reason. They literally pause the movie in its tracks just to insert more dumb, weightless jokes that mean nothing. Timon thinks he gets to be rude just because he's gay. I kind of dug the narrative framing device with Rafiki reciting Mufasa's story to Simba and Nala's daughter. That was neat. There were actually a couple of brief moments where Barry Jenkins' directorial vision was able to squeeze through before being swiftly shuttered away again, which was nice. But those small glimmers of hope don't do enough to save this from being boring as shit. It is so hard to care about anything going on here. They got these emotionless lions and monkeys strolling about, and I can't tell them apart. And also, this is a prequel, so I already know how it ends. Oh, but don't you want to see how Scar becomes Scar? No! Not when they fumble it like this. We got Megatron's legendary character arc in Transformers 1, and then you look at Scar's origin, and he's just a lion cuck virgin incel. Literally all it took was for him to fumble one bad bitch, and now he's turned on a dime and is ready to overthrow a kingdom. Like, come on. That's gotta be one of the lamest origin stories I've ever seen in one of these unnecessary prequels. The villains in this movie are just really weird. There's this big white lion who's extremely Javier Bardem coded and has a super polarizing personality. Like, sometimes he's just blindly angry and other times he's slightly flamboyant. And it's not like one's a progression of the other, he just switches between them in every other scene. But then also he has these two, what I can only describe as seductress lionesses, who talk like snakes and can track people across entire savannas. They hold no personality of their own and only exist to serve the big white lion dude. It's a very out-of-place set of villains for this story and world, and the movie would have probably largely benefited if they were just cut out entirely. Mufasa ends up being a very mixed bag. It's mostly the same disappointing slop you'd expect from these live-action Disney films, but there's also hints of something unique buried deep in there that just make it all the more frustrating when they end up sputtering out before they can flourish. So while there's definitely an improvement on 2019's Lion King, which isn't saying much, it's not exactly a step in the right direction either. I'd be lying if I said I enjoyed it.
Plan on murdering me in my sleep?
What? No!
Look, man, I didn't want to see the Mark Wahlberg dog movie, but it was forced upon me. I had no choice. You know what? I'm taking a stand. I refuse to talk about this shit. No one gives a fuck. Fuck you, Mark Wahlberg, and your shitty restaurant, Wahlburger my ass, you fuck.
It's me, Goku! It's me, Goku!
The Strangers Chapter 1 fucking sucks. This flatlined, unnecessary remake of a movie that isn't even 20 years old is somehow saved by how unintentionally hilarious it is. It was so hard to not laugh at the atrocious dialogue and performances. I'd like to apologize to the 2 other people in the theater. The first hour of this movie is some of the funniest shit I've seen all year, dude. So many all-timer, awful line reads. I can't get the way she says, "What a cool little town," out of my head with that goofy, dopey smile on her face. I'd be ready to become this movie's biggest fan if 1, the actual scares weren't so dry and uninventive, and 2, if it wasn't so incredibly uninteresting when I wasn't laughing at it. Probably the blandest horror movie I've seen in a long-ass time. At least something like Exorcist Believer tried to have some sort of aesthetic or atmosphere. Strangers Chapter 1 has nothing. There's just no attempt at an identity, especially compared to the 2008 original. There was maybe one moment that made me even think about jumping, but other than that, it's a complete flatline in terms of scares. The only purpose this movie serves is to be laughed at by a group of friends during a bad horror movie night. I don't know what I expected from a Rennie Harlan movie. More like, if only this movie was good. Get it? Fuck you. I don't even remember seeing this. You guys remember when Wonka was coming out and everyone thought it was going to be all hokey and just be a bunch of fake wonder and artificial whimsy? Yeah, that's if. You just expected to already have an attachment to these stupid fucking characters. The movie flails its arms around, yelling, "Get ready to cry, get ready to cry, we're gonna make you cry. Don't you feel the feels, dude? Don't you love Blue so fucking much that you'd cry if we gagged and waterboarded him?" Why do the work of building a connection in the actual movie when you can just shove some cute shit in people's faces and tell them they have to care? Maybe it would have been easier to have proper character development if the movie didn't forget to have a plot half the time. The first, 40 minutes, maybe even the entire first hour, is the characters, theoretically, trying to further the plot. They attempt to solve the main conflict that wasn't set up, wasn't shown to us. We don't even know if it's true, because we don't see it happen. The characters just say it'll happen, but okay, whatever. It's just scene after scene of them being like, well, maybe this'll work, and then it does it, and they do that 5 times. It's not until the last 30 minutes that they realize, oh, we don't need to find new kids, we just need to reconnect the old kids. And then they do that, I guess, I think, and so then it's oh, so the entire first half of this movie is completely pointless. But to be fair, the ending does kind of recontextualize the whole thing to be more of a metaphorical, interpersonal story rather than the literal adventure you're led on with. But then the whole point of all that is just to say, don't forget your inner child when you grow up. Thanks man, wow, never thought of that one. The fucking IHOP commercial gets that point across in half a minute. Fuck you. And fuck that fat purple piece of shit. He's an annoying creep and I hate him. I gotta knock his block off. This movie would have been better if it was just me and the bug and we every night and she all bed and we let it
from a robot into a toilet. It's a robot called the Jontron.
Okay, the next movie here is Ricky Stenicki. What the fuck are we doing here? This review is going to be less about Ricky Stenicki specifically and more just how dry the modern comedy landscape is. If this movie was made in 2007, it'd probably be way more racist, but it would also be way more memorable. As it is now, it's just people saying shit and nothing happens. I'm not trying to say that all modern comedies suck massive fucking donkey dick. There are some absolute bangers out there, like Bottoms, obviously, but the very large amount of them are this filler crap that just does absolutely nothing. This thing is almost 2 hours long, and I feel like I haven't even seen it the way I can barely remember a damn thing that happens. Even when I did laugh or smile at a joke, I felt like an idiot, because it's all the most bland garbage with such weak delivery and build-up. This movie's existence is funnier than anything actually in it. I can't believe the director won Best Picture less than 5 years ago, and I was doing this shit. I'll give them points for the Schmo Yaho needle drop in the credits. 1738. You thought we left brand biopic movies back in 2023, you dumb fucking idiot? Well, guess what? It's time for Jerry Seinfeld's Unfrosted, which is just a giant lie. The whole thing's fake. Seinfeld's special interest is breakfast items from the 60s because he's old as fuck and now he's making it everyone else's problem. It's isn't even a movie. Or like, it barely qualifies. It has a quote-unquote plot purely out of obligation. But that quote-unquote plot isn't shown through connected scenes that tell a story. Rather, it's shown through gags. Just endless gags that only consist of saying the names to things related to breakfast. It's a breakfast comedy. All the jokes are breakfast. This movie is more gag reel than movie. The actors are more improv students than they are actors. It's literally just B-movie again. It's the same fucking movie. It's just so toothless and lame. There is nothing here that elicits even the hint of an emotional reaction. I'll give props to the production and costume design. The technicals of it all managed to save this from being entirely uninspired, but between the oddly sterile dialogue and the weak tone, it's just a slog from beginning to end. Shit just happens on screen and then it's over. What an utter waste of time. Okay, now we're done with movies based on products, I swear this time.
Do I look like the kind of guy that would do that to a kid like you?
You look like a snake!
Yes!
Never Let Go is like when you ask your mom for a quiet place and she says, we got a quiet place at home. This movie is only halfway disappointing. It starts pretty interesting, drags hard in the middle, then finally picks up near the end. The basic premise of a family believing they live in a post-apocalypse with some sort of omnipresent demon lurking around the house at all times sounds like it could lead to some awesome, intense, horrific sequences, but it ends up leading to just like one. Just complete failure on the concept. They play into it for like 30 minutes at the beginning and end, while the middle hour and a half is just nothing. I was having trouble staying awake during this. The quote-unquote lore of the evil isn't intriguing enough for there to be so much exposition on it. I just wanted spooky shit in the woods, goddammit. Half the cast is children, so I'm not going to pick on their acting. But Halle Berry is doing something. It definitely has hints of being a powerful performance, but something is holding her back. Maybe it's because of how one-note it is. Every scene with her is just reinstating how dangerous it is out there and to never let go. Ooh. I don't know. She just feels kind of wasted, unfortunately. When there is some tense horror going on, it's done pretty alright, but it's too few and far between to be truly effective. Could have been a lot better. Could have been a lot worse. Ultimately, inoffensively standard.
So, just sit back and relax, my lord, because it's time for you to meet today's eligible bachelorettes. And here they are.
Woman of the Hour is about as subtle as a nuclear bomb. Anna Kendrick is innocent. This movie is failed by its writing, which was done by a man. Now you don't know what the hell to think. We never see a positive interaction between any two male and female characters. They only highlight the most outwardly misogynistic and demeaning outbursts, and that makes the story feel like such an approximation of itself. It's almost parody with how blatant every male is with how much they hate women. I can't get invested in the film's messaging when it makes a stereotyped mockery of the subject. And so by the end I felt completely disinterested and at a total flatline. It doesn't help with how wonky its structuring is. Constantly jumping around a disconnected timeline that only serves to reinforce the blatant point that, hey, this guy really ain't that nice. 'Cause he kills people! Anna Kendrick's directing and the performances all around are as fine as any other movie, not leaving much that's special in its path. Okay, it sounds like I despise this movie, but I'm more just overall disappointed. I had the expectations of a unique, flashy thriller and was met with the disappointing reality that this is a run-of-the-mill, dramatized, weightless attempt at a think piece.
First of all, congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump?
It ends with us. It ends with us. It ends with us. There's more universes out there where I don't watch this movie than ones where I do, but unfortunately we're both in one where I did. I almost wish this movie was worse than it is. The best parts of It Ends With Us is the part where they played Taylor Swift, but more importantly, whenever it throws caution to the wind and tries to amp up the drama with some outlandish conflict. Because it's really bad at it. Lily Orchard Bloom's two boyfriends... No, that's not her name. Lily Blossom Bloom's two boyfriends fighting each other in public 2 seconds after meeting each other is the delicious trash I crave from this kind of story. Unfortunately, most of the movie is just standard love drama, you know, yada yada and all that. That standard love drama being the most subpar analysis of domestic abuse, by the way, which I feel like most people trash this book, and by extension the movie, just for being about that in the first place. Shitty romance novels can be about harsh topics. It's not inherently wrong for them to try to tackle stories like this. It just feels wrong when they use it as nothing more than set dressing to spice up their boring fucking story. 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades of Grey is about kinky rich people, but that's more just to represent the irreverence of the wealthy and the ridiculous worldview they live in. Sex dungeons don't exist in real life, but an exaggerated critique of the lifestyles of the rich and famous that have an entire sex mansion just because they can. And the movie chooses to examine that through a kinky rich people's situationship, and that's not inherently a problem. What were we talking about? Alright, what's up with all the Finding Nemo references? Lily Blossom Bloom has a poster in her childhood bedroom, there's a painting of Dory in the boyfriend's restaurant, and then when Lily Blossom Bloom is building the baby bed, there's a Nemo plushie to the right. What's the significance of the Finding Nemo references? So in conclusion, even though 50 Shades Darker is the best of the three films, I am disappointed that it lost the subtextual critical depth of the original. Don't even get me started on 50 Shades Freed.
Roadhouse. 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 Roadhouse.
Roadhouse is what happens when you take a finely crafted, well thought out movie and just completely rip out all its tact and subtlety. An exercise in meathead cinema, Roadhouse can't decide if it wants to be a standard action movie or a self-aware parody of itself, so it decides to just switch between the two at random. Immediately, the tone of the first scene tips you off to something being a bit off. There's a lot more talking than I expected. And not just talking, but talking interjected with very not funny dialogue and banter. And that kind of just never goes away for the whole movie. The script is so bad, it really does drag everything else down with it. Filled with weird character choices, unnecessary plot twists, completely superfluous subplots and character arcs, and just so much god-awful dialogue. It's a headache to see unfold, and it really doesn't help when the script is delivered with some just bad performances. Jake Gyllenhaal is just horribly miscast as Dalton. Everyone else around him at the the Roadhouse either sleepwalks through the movie, or it just might have never acted before. I can't tell if I'm supposed to take Billy Magnussen seriously or not, which is pretty bad when he's the main antagonist. And Conor McGregor, the McRib himself, he gives what might just be the worst performance I've seen all year. Which is saying a lot, because I saw Madam Web. He shows up 54 minutes into the film, looking like the Incredible Bulk, and just steals the whole movie from that point forward. Once he enters the picture, it just becomes a waiting game of anticipating his next scene. All these horrible missteps and bizarre decisions come together to create a perfect bad movie. One that does so much wrong, it becomes impossible to hate. It becomes endearing to a certain degree. This is going to come back every couple of years as one of those what the fuck happened here kind of films. The revisionist history on this one is going to be legendary. This movie may be objectively kinda awful, but it's so much damn fun to watch it stumble over itself that you'll more likely than not come out the other end enjoying yourself. I never want to hear blues rock ever again. Oh, I'm a rocket ship going up to space. Oh no! Fly Me to the Moon is nothing like the original. If you just want a cute, simple little rom-com with a 60s space race aesthetic over it, first of all, your tastes are oddly specific. And secondly, you're in luck, because this was fine. There's nothing, bad about this movie, I guess. But to that same effect, nothing is done amazingly or exceptionally. Also, it's 132 minutes long. You cannot support that runtime with being just alright the whole time. So at a certain point, it becomes a little draining when the 300th scene of Channing Tatum chastising Scarlett Johansson happens, and there's still 50 minutes of movie left. But again, to that same effect, at least it's not 132 minutes of bad material, so it's not like complete torture or anything. The production design is effective, and the subject matter is interesting enough to keep the energy up, and of course everyone gives a fine enough performance with hints of charm. It's all just a little too stock for my taste, I suppose. Could be worse, could be better. I prefer the original.
Keep rolling, 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 rolling. Keep rolling, 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 rolling.
Y2K from A24 is just alright. A horror movie about an alternate history where the Y2K bug actually brought upon the robot apocalypse is a pretty interesting idea. When your budget's more than $3 in a WinRAR subscription, Y2K tries to go for a big style over substance presentation, but it severely lacks in the resources to actually follow through with that. Turns out you can't make a very engaging robot apocalypse when your movie looks like an episode of The Angry Video Game Nerd. I found it very hard to care about anything that happened here because it's not only presented in such a cheap fashion, but also because it feels like the movie doesn't care very much either. They just throw away characters before they're able to do anything of substance. I hope you weren't enjoying that guy because his head just got removed for no reason. It's so deflating every time and gets really tired after the 5th time it happens. A character death in a horror movie is usually the payoff to some sort of arc. But Y2K feels like it kills characters just because it got bored with them. Like Andy throwing away Woody. Andy from Toy Story shouldn't be writing your movie. Oh, this is a comedy, by the way. A really confused one. First half kind of plays out like a Kevin Smith movie, meaning it's just people standing around and talking about penises. But once the apocalypse starts, the humor kind of just meanders. Like there are jokes, I guess, but they don't really stand out. Like I'm struggling to actually remember any of them, but I know they were there, and that none of them were particularly funny, but whatever. By the time the virus had a physical digital form and started talking like a Vivzy Pop character, I kind of tapped out anyway. At that point, it was clear that this movie's ambitions were massively deflated along the way and just wanted to be over with. There's nothing terrible about Y2K, it just fails to come close to the potential of its concept. Good soundtrack, I guess. Oh, and Fred Durst is there.
Hey, Patrick, what am I now?
Stupid?
No, I'm Texas.
What's the difference?
Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie, might just be the most leaked movie ever of all time in history ever. I watched the storyboards for this 2 years ago, on accident. I got all these test animations that I don't even know where I found. The entire movie got posted to Twitter 7 months before release. How does that even happen? I'm willing to bet more people saw that leak than the actual official release. This is the second SpongeBob movie in a row that got its release fucked up. Okay, but enough preamble. What about the movie? Who cares? This movie would have gone multi-platinum in my childhood if it was a direct-to-DVD film in 2006. This is the most plain, soft, easy, forgettable, harmless SpongeBob media I've seen in a while. This isn't really a SpongeBob movie. In reality, this is just another middle-of-the-road Netflix animated film that happens to have SpongeBob characters in it. And if you're fine with middle-of-the-road Netflix animated films, then this is just another for the pile. It's enjoyable enough. It doesn't give you much, but it doesn't hurt to watch if you're bored. Put it on in the background, sure. But that's where it being a SpongeBob movie really hinders it. That IP attachment is going to get so many more eyes on it than something like, I don't know, Monkey King would. And so now what is supposed to just pass through the general public conscience after a week is getting lambasted as a generational travesty. It's so tiring. What was I talking about? Alright, SpongeBob is a scary motherfucker. I don't know what happened to these animators, but whenever SpongeBob was on screen, he's getting mutilated and tortured and ripped apart and having the most horrific body horror enacted upon him. I don't know why they did this. This movie's biggest problem is that it has 3 plots going on at the same time. It's called the Sandy Cheeks movie, but I feel like Sandy Cheeks is barely in it. I feel like every character is barely in it, because it jumps around so much that none of them get to take focus. We probably could have cut Sandy's dumbass family out of this. Sorry, Johnny Knoxville. Oh well. I wasn't expecting much, and I got not much. I guess it met my expectations.
Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast! Ah!
According to all known laws of filmmaking, there is no way that The Beekeeper should be any good. Its characters are too stupid to get its derivative story off the ground. The Beekeeper, of course, entertains anyway, because The Beekeeper doesn't care what filmgoers think is impossible. A John Wick ripoff starring Jason Statham and bees sounds like the most draining movie-going experience ever. And it was, but it's also hilarious, engaging, and above all else, completely insane. The Beekeeper makes itself impossible to hate by knowing you're going into it just to hate it, so it subverts expectations by not even pretending to be a real movie. Jason Statham has less than 30 lines in the whole movie, and half of them are bee puns. The writing makes any crazy choice you can think of. Have the plot get kicked off by an old lady shooting herself in the head? Oh, of course. Have some random girl with a minigun appear out of nowhere and start firing? Sure, why not? Reveal that the villain's mother is the President of the United States 20 minutes before the movie ends? Why wouldn't you do that? It's complete shit, but it's also amazing. You have no reason to watch it, but also you should absolutely check it out. It will meet all your low expectations while also surpassing them at the same time. It's the most January movie to have ever Januaried, and I cannot wait for The Beekeeper versus The Meg.
Hello, I'm Tom Hanks. The U.S. government has lost its credibility, so it's borrowing some of mine.
What do you get when Robert Zemeckis reunites with the writer and stars of Forrest Gump to create a century-spanning story all shot at the same angle of a family home? Evidently not that much. Here is just that. It's just kinda here. It took me a surprisingly long time to settle into this movie, basically until Tom Hanks and Robin Wright enter the picture, which took way longer than I thought it would. They market this as Tom Hanks and Robin Wright. Tom Hanks and Robin Wright. Tom Hanks and Robin Wright. But they don't show up until like 20 minutes in. And I know that doesn't sound very long, but everything not involving them is shockingly unengaging. There's an unprecedented amount of unrelated stories about other people who lived in this house, which I'm not against on a ground level. It's just that I don't give a fuck. They got this whole other thing going on with the inventor of the Lazy Boy, and while he is the greatest character in cinema, I was not particularly enraptured with the story. And they flash forward to a family living through the pandemic, and it is similarly uninteresting and underbaked. And there's like 2 or 3 other side tangents they constantly cut to, and none of them entice me at all. I was never excited whenever we returned to the Benjamin Franklin subplot. I was annoyed. And when it's all added together, it ends up with about 40 to 50% of this movie being unengaging fluff that adds nothing. If half your movie is fluff, that's a pretty big problem. And another problem with all these side plots is that Tom Hanks and Robin Wright are the only people not giving ridiculous performances. I have no idea what Paul Bettany was going for here. His character is partially deaf, which, according to him, means he has to scream all the time and throw his arms around like a freak. I thought this was directed by Robert Zemeckis, not M. Night Shyamalan. Lazy Boy guy is acting weird. Ben Franklin's brother is acting weird. Pandemic Dad is acting weird. Why is everyone acting so weird? I'm usually the first person to defend weird performances, and that's the key word here. These are weird, not bad, but it just felt too distracting and unintentional here, especially compared against Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, who are doing just as good as they always are. It's not like they're best in decades or anything, but they're naturally talented enough to ever so slightly elevate the material to a passable state. I think the fatal flaw at here's core is the pacing. It cuts and jumps around far too frequently for anything to make a proper impact. At most, I got a surface level feeling of, oh, well that's a shame, when a main character got a debilitating disease for the 3rd time. And I hate to say this, but as the same musical cue set in for the 90th time, I had a creeping feeling coming over me. This movie is faux whimsy. It tries to give the feeling of warmth and movie magic without actually putting the work in to evoke those feelings. It's a fraud. It's a phony movie. This all happened because you made Pinocchio.
Hi, sisters! Hiya, sisters! Hi, sisters! Hi, sisters!
Immaculate is a bit of an exaggeration. It was like, alright, I guess. Immaculate is uniquely 2000s with how one-note it is with its concept. This is a scary place with scary nuns and they practice scary religion. The end. But I guess I wasn't expecting anything groundbreaking. What Immaculate lacks in innovation, it mostly makes up for with dedication. When the inciting incident of your film is the rebirth of Jesus Christ, that's gotta stand for something at least. It rides this plot to hell and back, leading to a 3rd act worthy of the film's title. All chastity is let loose and the story is finally allowed to lose its mind, elevating the movie above its lesser contemporaries that are intent on always holding back. When the blood flows, it pours, finishing it off with one of my favorite final scenes of any movie on this list. Unfortunately, movies are built on a 3-act structure, which means you do have to trudge through more than half the movie to get to the good part. Okay, the first half isn't like bad or anything, but is very light on anything happening. A lot of just building atmosphere and intrigue, which can be great when done right, but it feels a little underbaked here. Even Sydney Sweeney feels like she's holding her performance back before letting loose towards the end, which can make the early half feel kinda awkward in comparison. The only consistently good part of this movie was the directing and cinematography, which were both surprisingly effective at setting the vibe. But overall, an unexpectedly fun and campy romp with a mercifully short run time. What can I say? It was nothing short of immaculate.
I'm trying to avoid any sort of contact with my eyes with this thing, but it's so bright and yellow.
Today we face the inevitability that is Despicable Me 4. Whatever pays the bills. When it comes to Illumination, Despicable Me has always been the most consistent series. Consistently made! Alright, that was mean. But let's be honest. After the first film, they got pretty comfortable with being just alright. Despicable Me 2 has its moments, but overall it's like, fine, you know, nothing crazy. Just cute. A fun movie to have on in the background. Despicable Me 3 is completely mind-numbing. It just goes in one year and out the other. At the time of writing this, I watched it yesterday and don't remember anything other than Drew being hot. And now we have Despicable Me 4. The first movie to be comprised entirely of subplots. Still better than 3. This movie can't focus to save its life, or its Rotten Tomatoes score. More and more with each installment, these start to feel more like TV episodes than they do movies. They set up a scenario at the beginning, and the next 90 minutes is just exploring every gag they could do with that. Oh, Gru and his family get sent to a suburban neighborhood. Oh, well, what if he goes to a country club? And what if his daughters go to karate class? And his neighbor's daughter is actually villain, and Lucy becomes a hairstylist, and Margot's also there, and the minions become superheroes, and Gru's baby hates him, and all the characters sing Tears for Fear, and there's like a villain in there too, maybe, I don't know. None of those were made up, they're all in the movie, and I think half of them were also Simpson episodes. The nonchalant, do-whatever attitude of the writing can make these movies feel pretty insubstantial in the broad sense, but I would be lying if I said it wasn't entertaining. The characters are still pretty charming, even if Steve Carell is really pushing the Gru voice this time, and there's still a funny gag or joke here and there. So while it may not be telling the most impactful stories or have the deepest lore, Despicable Me 4 can still be an engaging watch just by introducing new funny gags as it goes along. Alright, so it's a feature-length baby sensory video. Awesome. Cool. Kung Fu Panda 4 is very conflicting. There are several moments here where I can feel that classic Kung Fu Panda charm that made the previous 3 such hard-hitting films, but there are also just several moments where everything's just off. Immediately, the tone is a little off-putting. Pretty early on, I could tell it wasn't as serious as the previous films, but I was still hoping the movie could turn around at some point and really get deep into what it's talking about. But that never really happens. It stays pretty light the whole way, which, for an animated adventure comedy, I guess is fine, but Kung Fu Panda kinda has a reputation for getting really serious with its themes. So for this one to play it pretty safe is disappointing. That being said though, at least the pivot to a more comedic tone came with actual good jokes. I'm not gonna lie and say this movie isn't funny. It's very funny. I was entertained the whole way through. But, that being said, once again, I don't think it's as funny as the other entries. The dialogue was just off in general. A lot of just saying stuff. Like, they're coming right for us. And other silence fillers like that. Is that weird to criticize? I don't know. It just felt very noticeable. And Poe's characterization kind of made him boring here, honestly. He's just the goody-good guy to bounce off of Jen's trickery, and it makes him feel sort of secondary to her. But to be more positive, the animation here is absolutely extraordinary, especially considering the relatively small budget they had here. Seeing those wide shots of sweeping landscapes on a huge theater screen really highlighted how breathtaking they were. Not to mention the absolutely incredible action and inspired stylistic flares thrown in there. I can't say this movie felt entirely like a cheap cash grab, even though that's what it is, but I also can't say it was an inspired comeback for the franchise. It was really just fine, which means it was fucking awful for Kung Fu Panda standards. I mean, it's not even the best DreamWorks sequel that ends with a Tenacious D cover.
I have the power.
Yeah, right.
Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire, a Disney Channel original movie starring Caroline Rhea.
Salem's Lot is the movie that got away. This thing was supposed to come out like 2 years ago, but I guess they just lost it or something, I don't know. Were they trying to save us from a travesty? Or shield our eyes from unbelievable peak? As far as vampire films go, this sure is one. I'll tell you this much. You can definitely tell it's a Stephen King story. Kids die, kids kill other kids, there's an author no one likes, an unnecessarily large cast of characters. It's got everything. There's a good sense of atmosphere and lighting, some nice blood and gore, the characters are charming enough of a bit one note, and is overall very effectively crafted in the technical aspects. It's just got some big pacing problems that bog it down. In classic King fashion, this is bloated to nearly 2 hours long because of a convoluted and overstuffed story. You could honestly cut at least 2 or 3 of these characters and their respective subplots, and the story would not only play out largely the same, but it would probably flow a lot better too. But all this baggage doesn't stop Salem's Lot from being a serviceably pulpy and bloody time. None of this answers why they forgot to release it for so long, though.
My favorite thing about the movie is it feels like a movie. It feels like a real go to the theater film movie that.
When I said No Hard Feelings had a plot like a One Direction fanfic, I didn't know I was going to review a movie literally based on a One Direction fanfic the very next year. The idea of you is the proud love letter to Wattpad that Wattpad doesn't deserve. This movie's script is so unmoved about how shit it is. It's like they took the original fic word for word and didn't change a thing. I can't help it. This was so comforting to watch. I know there's been movies based on fanfics like this before, but this one is the most unabashed with its source material. It hits every plot cliche, it hits every character archetype, it hits every writing quirk, and it's great. The sheer power of Anne Hathaway to take the pick of the litter from AO3's bargain bin and make it look like Richard Linklater should be enough of a display of her strength as an actress that refuses to ever let a performance slip. The film's commitment to the Wattpad writing does hinder it as much as it makes it charming. For every fun, campy moment, there's a just downright cringy moment or a plot point that takes me out of the story. But again, most of the fanfic writing quirks that are translated to the screen make this movie really damn entertaining. The same way we look back at something like a Cinderella story as a campy rom-com of its time, we're gonna look back at The Idea of You as a campy rom-com of its time. Out of the 2 movies where Harry Styles violently eats pussy, this is the better one.
Awesome! Time to meet my new bro! Did someone say brony? What? No one ever said that.
On the surface, Thelma the Unicorn may just seem like another generic animated movie dropped onto Netflix. Which it is. But when it comes to generic animated movies dropped onto Netflix, at least it's on the higher side of the quality scale, which isn't a very high scale to begin with. The characters are cute enough and the animation is quality enough to keep me from calling this a complete flop. Sure, the message is shoved down your throat without an ounce of subtlety, and sure, the plot is nothing new in the slightest, and sure, the humor is pretty basic, and sure, Will Forte is in it, but who cares? Maybe we need these mid-level, safe and forgettable animated movies. Could you honestly say that me and you would be the same people we are today if we didn't have stuff like Rio and the Croods in our childhoods? For every Across the Spider-Verse or The Last Wish, we need a Planet 51 or Hotel Transylvania 2 to balance it out. So maybe from that perspective, Thelma the Unicorn achieves exactly what it sets out to do. Maybe in the cosmic balance of the universe, if Thelma the Unicorn was never made, we wouldn't have gotten The Boy and the Heron. Maybe we should thank Thelma. Maybe it's actually a masterpiece in mediocrity. Maybe I should shut the fuck up.
Ding 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 dum dum bum bum bam bum 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 bum.
Beverly Hills Cop Axel F defies all odds and isn't a massive piece of shit. It's fucked up that Bad Boys bit off this series' whole shtick, and while their 4th entry is tearing up the box office, Beverly Hills Cop 4 is rotting away in the bowels of Netflix. Dude, thank God for Eddie Murphy. Thank God he's able to take what would usually be a forgettable, unneeded legacy sequel and actually bring some personality to it. He truly hasn't missed a beat. His chemistry and timing off the rest of the cast go a long way in keeping the movie feel fresh. The whole film is pretty good at balancing its legacy with new ideas. It doesn't overload with references, but also doesn't just rewrite the slate clean with no explanation. Though, the legacy characters do somehow feel both shoehorned in and underutilized. But even with that, this still has a stronger foundation than most legacy sequels do nowadays. They keep the attitude and aura of the franchise pretty much untouched, give or take a formulaic melodramatic family plot here and there. So while it may be a little bland, Axel F is still leagues ahead of the usual slop that gets shoveled out. Though how is it that this has a bigger budget than the first 3 movies combined, and yet has faker looking action?
John, I want a divorce.
Spellbound, the newest film from Disney's aborted fetus, is surprisingly pretty alright. Alright. Imagine Wish meets Shrek, and then they get a divorce. My expectations for Spellbound were in the fucking dirt after Skydance Animation made their debut with the film Luck, which sucked, but inexplicably, Spellbound actually has a fair amount going for it. Firstly, songs in here ain't half bad. I didn't even know this was a musical when I pressed play, but the soundtrack ended up being an unexpected highlight. They're not showstoppers or nothing, but they're better than Wish, so like, that's something. That might have something to do with the fact that they're written by Alan Menken, the guy that wrote the song for all of these. I don't know how they bagged him for this, but the combo of his talent with Rachel Zegler's vocals makes for an understatedly great soundtrack. The characters here are also surprisingly charming. The main girl isn't very memorable, unfortunately, but I was pleasantly amused by some of the sidekicks. The gay blobular creatures were generally funny. The movie should have had more of them and less of the awful purple thing. This thing's existence enrages me. I was waiting for someone to take it and just... Stupid ass knockoff Bibble, get the fuck out of here. Only major issue with this movie is the pacing and unrealized world building. The story takes a major drag near the end and just like refuses to end. You think we're closing in and then suddenly there's still 40 minutes left. Left me feeling pretty over it by the time we got to the emotional climax. And the world is just massively uninteresting. It's just your typical medieval fantasy setting with some quote-unquote unique flourishes here and there. They have a hard time keeping to a single idea or gimmick, and it ends up feeling like a melting pot of unrelated concepts that are there just to fill time. But overall, Spellbound stands as a promising uptick in Skydance's track record that they'll hopefully keep up with. Oh, and it's a metaphor for divorce or something. I don't know, I forgot to mention that.
Knock, knock, let the devil in, malevolent as I've ever been. Head is spinning, this medicine screaming.
Dude, they made 3 Venom movies. Okay, guys. Slight problem. I have literally no idea what this movie's about. I mean, I do. Like, Venom's goal is to just go to New York. And that's it, I guess? What was the plan after that? I don't know. They go through all this insane bullshit, and I'm thinking to myself, why are they doing this again? And the answer is always just to get to New York and do nothing. They start in Mexico, end up in the Nevada desert, go to Vegas, go back to the Nevada desert, Venom dies, and then Eddie goes to New York and does nothing. Sorry, my bad, he doesn't do nothing. He has a heartfelt bromance montage set to Maroon 5. What I'm trying to say here is that I had no sense of tension with the stakes in this. Mostly because I didn't know what the stakes were. If we don't get to New York, then we won't be able to get to New York. Go somewhere else. The feds won't find you in the Nevada desert. There's a facade of a plot. They act like each event is leading to a climax, but in reality it's just things happening until it ends. Alright, so the story is a total bust. But honestly, everything else is pretty alright. Alright doesn't mean good, but alright. Eddie and Venom's dynamic is still leagues ahead where it was in the first film, though to be honest I found it more entertaining in Let There Be Carnage. And is it just me, or is it like explicitly clear they're gay for each other in this one? Like it's one of the main themes, not just an external reading. Like it's a part of the movie. There's literally a scene with them longing to start a family together, which could mean nothing. The action was as fun as CGI sludge action can be. I liked when Venom was a frog. The extended David Bowie a cappella sequence was... well, it happened. When they released the other symbiotes and there was like 8 Venoms running around, I started uncontrollably laughing because I couldn't believe what I was looking at. It was like the final act of a Venom Avengers movie, except the Venom Avengers were introduced 3 minutes ago and don't have any names. The inclusion of Noel kind of spells it all out for me on why this even exists. This movie was made to cap off the Eddie and Venom story, yes. But the true intention here was just to set up the future of this stupid fucking universe. Ooh, what's Noel gonna do next? You don't think he'll fight Spider-Man, do you? Probably not. Where's the Sinister Six movie, you fuckers? You know, Vulture is still stuck in the Morbius-verse, by the way. It's like a 2-hour post-credit scene. This movie holds nothing of its own. It's all just to introduce things made for future movies to actually pay off. But with saying that, I guess it could have been a lot worse. I still enjoyed myself and find myself engaged with the characters. It's just the ultimate payoff and overall meaning of the movie's existence that fell flat for me. So, yeah. Goodbye, Venom. I'll miss you, I think. I don't know, just give Marvel the fucking rights back already. Don't ask me anything that happens in Cuckoo. It took me an embarrassingly long time to find out this and Longlegs are two different movies. Things happen in this movie. What those things are, I'm not exactly sure. Hunter Schafer has a mute sister, and there's a guy with a flute. When the screen shakes, time loops for a second, I think. There's something with birds. I think I heard something about implanting fertile eggs. I don't know, this is all I was able to pick up on. And that Hunter Schafer is hot, but I think we already knew that. There's good atmosphere, slick cinematography, a good amount of intriguing ideas, and good performances all around. It's just that it becomes a bit of a hodgepodge in execution. There's that word again. The ideas don't ever cohesively flow into each other. They kind of just happen one after another. But in spite of that, I still kind of vibed with it. It might have not made any sense, but I think it gets the point across. A film composed of disjointed but still well-executed ideas is still a film composed of well-executed ideas. So I liked it. I think. Maybe. Perhaps. Possibly. Conceivably?
You're on your own!
Yeah, bitch.
For a movie about emotions, I sure didn't feel much for Inside Out 2. Yeah, here comes Contrarian Andy. It's the first time in forever that everyone collectively enjoyed a Pixar movie, and here comes this embarrassment of a human being saying he enjoyed Elemental more. Just let me explain myself, alright? Do I think it's a bad movie? No, not at all. Do I think it's a mostly pointless movie that doesn't really offer a whole lot? Yeah. The nicest way I can describe this is that it feels like a plot to the non-canon video game spin-off that calls itself the official sequel before the actual official sequel comes out. And it's just kind of the first movie again, but a little different. Oh no, we lost a thing and we gotta get it back to headquarters before the other emotions fuck it all up. This wouldn't really be a problem if they didn't try to fit twice as much stuff into this as the first movie with only 2 more minutes of runtime. You do not have a second to process what just happened at any given moment. I was waiting for the movie to start before I knew what the credits were rolling. Remember when both Incredibles movies, and Cars, I guess, were nearly 2 hours long because they had a lot of important ground to cover and wanted them to breathe and be impactful? What the fuck happened here? Breakneck pace just really squandered the emotional potential of this film's impactful moments for me. Doesn't help that I was never really wowed by the animation at any point. Nothing that made me go, ooh, wow, how'd they do that? Or like, wow, that's so inventive and creative. It all just felt like standard fare to me. Now, I know I've done nothing but complain, but I swear I don't hate this movie. I don't even dislike it, really. It was still fun and cute, and I like the characters and music and all that, but, you know, I only like it, not love it. I didn't think it was better than the original, and I'm already not crazy about that movie, so it's consistent, I guess. You know, you'd think Pixar would stop making movies with the number 2 in the title, seeing how it's only worked out for them once.
We come to this place for magic.
Baby Girl is like if It Ends With Us pretended it was an art house film. I've seen a lot of praise for this one, so I guess I'm in the minority, but I barely got anything out of this. I'll start positive. Nicole Kidman is really fucking great here. You instantly get a real sense of layered depth to her character that constantly evolves and just gets more and more complex as the film goes on. Antonio Banderas, who I didn't know was in this before I saw it, also sneaks in a standout performance at the 11th hour here. I expected him to mostly sit down in the background of the story, which he does for a majority of the film, but once that third act hits, he really breaks out into the forefront and showcases a phenomenal range of intense emotional distress. You know, this movie is beautifully shot as well. The colors are so damn rich and crisp, making the scenery of every shot look full and popping. The way human bodies are blocked and shot is superb, being necessarily intimate but also artful and interestingly framed. I'd hope they film naked bodies well, considering half the movie is a Wicked Sims playthrough. Alright, it's complaining time. Who the fuck is this guy? I really can't get a read on what my reaction to this character is supposed to be. I can't tell if he's intentionally playing into Nicole Kidman's kink, or if he's just an asshole that likes bossing people around, but he is so annoying. Every time he tries to be sexy, I have to stop myself from laughing. These two do not come off as sultry, toxic kink lovers. They look like an embarrassing Discord couple. Like petting each other and drinking milk off the floor. That just makes me damn sick. And I found the film very thematically weak for about 90% of it until the end where they resort to just spelling it out for you. I just did not see a lot of purpose to what was happening and what they were trying to say, and it made the repetitive foreplay scenes way harder to sit through. Just wish I was given more to ponder on afterwards, but as it is, the film gives very little to chew on. Baby Girl is an unfortunate example of a lot of effort being put into weak material, to the point that I'm almost surprised it wasn't directed by Emerald Fennell. It's not awful, but it really doesn't culminate into anything special. And it takes them like 2 months to take down the Christmas trees. There's a New Year's party in the first 20 minutes, but there's still Christmas decorations everywhere in the rest of the movie. What was up with that?
Mantis, look out!
The Killer's Game, from the people that brought you John Wick and Borderlands. Do I have to say anything more? Killer's Game is dumb, unserious, action fun, and really nothing more. The first 20 or so minutes do take on a more serious attitude to sell the harrowing hopelessness of contracting an incurable disease, but as soon as that's revealed to be a red herring, they just stop giving a fuck. It's boss rush time! Look at this funny character. Look at this funny character. Look at this funny character. It's like Bullet Train on 1/5 of the budget. Most I can really say about the Killer's Game is that I wish it pushed itself further with its action. Besides some like split screen here and there, the film isn't that notable aesthetically, so I wish it could inject some more uniqueness into the action sequences. But as it is, it's the usual diet John Wick hand-to-hand combat we've been seeing for nearly a decade now. Like, yeah, John Wick's combat is impressive for the amount of intuitive choreography put into it, but the filmmaking put behind it that further elevates it is what made it catch on in the first place. And that's what a lot of these copycats tend to forget. They think just putting in a bunch of weapons and quick cuts makes a stylish fight, but it really doesn't. But yeah, the movie was alright, I guess.
What does any of that have to do with babies? Mario, I don't understand. That's because you're a dog, Luigi. Woof.
Night Bitch does not have that dog in him. Thank God. White woman starring in a movie about dogs, I was getting worried. This here is a drama. Wait. No, a comedy. Well, no, that's not right. A satire of... No, it's not that either. That's kind of the problem with Night Bitch. It's a very confused film. With its messaging, with its tone, with its whether or not she's actually going to turn into a dog. I feel like it's going for something similar to The Substance, but it lacks that same bite to fully rip into its topics. It wants the exaggerated comedic heightened reality, but the emotions don't get very loud and stay pretty low-key and tapered throughout. It wants to really pick apart its subject matter, but can't give a clear statement one way or the other, so opts to give this centrist take of motherhood is good when it's good and bad when it's bad. It can't commit to the dog bit and just uses it as a flimsy metaphor, resulting in a muddied story for the main character. So we end up with a film throwing big swings towards a ball that was never even thrown in the first place. It sounds like I hate this movie, but truthfully, I was strangely entertained the whole time. Amy Adams is so dedicated to this strange material that she's able to sell it pretty convincingly. And I can't deny that her descent to whatever it is exactly that happened was pretty intriguing at first. It's a well-paced film that builds upon its mystery slowly enough to keep you guessing on what'll happen next. So yeah, Night Bitch is a muddled, hokey, sort of thematically weightless film that suffers a major identity crisis, but an inspired performance from Amy Adams, short runtime, and campy attitude still lend it to being a fun enough time overall. Also, it's called Night Bitch, so I think that makes it an 8 out of 10 by default at least.
Let's Disney bound as Jane from Descendants. Let's go!
Descendants, The Rise of Red. Yeah, we're going there. If you clicked on this video hoping to hear my opinion on a Disney Channel original movie series made for 9-year-old girls and gay people, then you're in luck! While I do think this is a bit of a step down from Descendants 2 and 3, I say it's still a pretty strong DCOM. Serious props to the cast and director. Everyone slips into the characters pretty much perfectly, and it helps a lot with selling the material. And the effects are pretty good, for DCOM standards at least. I mean, compared to like everything else, it's surprisingly not shit. I guess that goes in tandem with the art direction, which is still that disgusting blend of Disney nostalgia and current trendy, edgy fashion that I get a kick out of. It's like if Gerard Way went Disney bounding. Unfortunately, I didn't really feel a strong connection between the two main leads because their entire basis of the friendship is formed in a single song. No, sorry, it's not in a song, it's in one verse of a song. Less than 10 words between them and it's suddenly, hey, you're actually cool, let's be the bestest of friends now. Just felt it could have been developed more before they went back in time. Okay, enough bullshit. What the fuck was that ending? Do these bitches think their Avengers Infinity War ending on a cliffhanger like that? I was sitting there thinking, there's not a lot of movie left. Where's the twist and resolve they set up? And then it ended. I sat in disbelief as China Anne McClain basically told me to sit my ass down and wait for part 5 to actually finish the story. I mean, I'll give them this. I didn't see that coming. On some level, I kinda love it, I think. I don't know if bold is the right word, but it's certainly a choice. Anyways, this movie handles time travel and respecting the dead better than The Flash did.
I just bought that private island. Land ho! I honestly cannot believe you can just buy an island.
Blink Twice is the only movie daring enough to call Elon Musk a rapist. I do that shit every day and it doesn't take me 100 minutes to do it. You've seen a lot of movies like this in recent years. Critiques of rich and fancy from rich people that think they're smarter than they are. That was mean, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry to everyone except Emerald for now. And out of all those, Blink Twice is one of the better ones. What ends up being a somewhat underwhelming story is propped up thanks to slick directing from Zoe Kravitz and occasionally entertaining writing. It's just unfortunate that there's very little new to this movie. It's got the same structure, tone, theme, and general concept of not just a lot of other films, but a lot of other recent films, which just makes it that much more apparent how samey this is. This movie's strengths are there. Alia Shawkat and Adria Arjona give especially inspired performances, but they unfortunately don't get to stand out much. I mean, I probably wouldn't be saying all this if it was still called Pussy Island.
Baby, I'm playing on you tonight. Hunt you down, eat you alive. Just like animals like animals.
Wolves, John Watts' first non-Spider-Man joint in nearly a decade, probably would have been better if Spider-Man was in it. It's not a bad movie, but it does falter in some areas. Firstly, the pacing. It's glacial. The first 30 minutes is all one scene. And it's a good scene, but it still takes up the first 30 minutes. And the rest of the movie moves at that same chill pace. It made an hour and 40-minute secret agent thriller feel like a 2 hour and 40-minute Scorsese drama. I was exhausted by the end. It wasn't a deal breaker per se, but it still threw me off majorly. And secondly, it's sort of a weak story. The plot takes a pretty big backseat to Clooney and Pitt's dynamic, which ultimately makes it feel unimportant. It feels like the mindset was that the story could have been anything as long as it led to fun banter between the leads, which isn't like an awful mindset or anything, but it feels sort of half-assed here. Luckily though, those are my only big gripes. Clooney and Pitt are as charismatic and charming as ever, with a formidable supporting performance from Austin Abrams. And while Watts' cinematography may not be the most striking, his work in Wolves is still competent and professional looking, which is bolstered by the cool, snowy New York setting. It gives a smooth sheen that complements the film's and characters' attitudes. So while Wolves falls short in some major areas, it saves itself in others to ultimately turn out to be a pretty alright movie. Just imagine, if this was made 5 years ago, we could have seen Tom Holland running around naked.
Todoroki, Midoriya, Todoroki, Midoriya. Wait, why are they both shouting each other's last names? They're fighting about which last name they use when they get married.
My Hero Academia, You're Next sure is a My Hero movie. I knew this day would come. You know the drill here. If you've seen one My Hero movie, you've seen every My Hero movie. There's a clear through line that plots always follow in each one. A new powerful villain shows up, so Class 1A is sent out to deal with it, and then Deku meets a new character he gets paired with, and then all the budget gets shoved into the final battle. The only difference in quality between each movie is what new characters get slotted into those blank slate concepts. So where does Your Next land in the mix? Well, it's honestly not very far off from the others. Heroes Rising, World Heroes Mission, and Your Next all fall into a similar range for me. They are heightened My Hero stories that are usually far ahead of whatever season is currently airing, though Season 6 was better than I expected, but aren't anything really amazing. The only things that put one above another for me are those same copy and paste elements I talked about earlier. And, you know, This one's a pretty alright, I guess. Julio was cool, I guess. It has a cool gun arm. Dark Knight was fun. You know, it's nice hearing Christopher Sabat's performance and to have that presence in the story. The animation and character writing is given a bit of a theatrical boost, but beyond that, same old, except for the ending. Okay, well, not exactly. These always have good endings, but god damn, they jam-packed the finale with so much hype. They got that song running, and Deku goes through every single United States of America when he's beating Dark Knight's ass. Bakugo kept his fucking mouth shut. The visuals got real esoteric and interdimensional out of nowhere. It was cool. It was really cool. The only problem is that only takes up the last 20 minutes of a 2-hour movie where the rest is pretty much just the build-up. So, you know, pretty great by My Hero standards, but just barely above average on its own. Don't appreciate how it further disrespects Uraraka and shoves her aside and pretends she's a minor character and not important and shouldn't be a part of Deku's main group even when bitch-ass Todoroki gets to pal around. Oh my fucking god! I hate you!
My name is Regina George. I am what they call the Mean Girl.
Mean Girls is a movie fighting for its life. Strike one. It's a remake of a movie from only 20 years ago that people still remember. You just don't do that. Strike two. Adaptation of a stage musical based on said movie from only 20 years ago that people still remember. You know, it's like drinking hard liquor that's been through 2 Brita filters. Strike three. It was released in January? Ew. With all that said though, I'd say Mean Girls manages to just barely scrape by. The actors are charming enough and the pace is lively enough that it's able to keep the movie alive. With that said though, the movie's kind of pointless. It's not different enough to be fully removed from the original, but it's not like an exact copy either. It's just kind of there. Like sure, it's a fun watch, bring some friends over and just slap it on, but it's not really gonna stick with you like the original does. It kind of feels like a fan-made Mean Girls remake tribute project that somehow got widely released in theaters across North America. Which is fine, you know, it's cute. It just doesn't stand out that much. Okay, I gotta talk about Regina. Not sure if this was the creator's intentions, but 2024 Regina feels much more intentionally vindictive than 2004 Regina did. You know, in my eyes, 2004 Regina was merely a victim of social expectations and lack of self-confidence. Almost like she was once the Katie to someone else's Regina. 2024 Regina kind of feels like she's just actually like that as a person. I never felt that air of bubbliness or ditziness in her words. It all felt intentional and very try-hard edginess. Maybe this is a side effect of this one being at a way quicker pace than the OG, and yet somehow 20 minutes longer, and not having as much character building moments, but something about Regina was not off, just oddly different. Fine performances, fine songs, honestly pretty good directing, just not much identity. Now when are they adapting the Legally Blonde musical?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the new Eric Andre Show!
Late Night with the Devil is pretty great, except for that one detail. You know, we'll get to that. But for now, let's just talk about how cool David Dastmalchian is. His practically flawless performance as Jack Delroy really elevates the film's feeling of unease and discomfort. His shifty attitude and the shaky way he presents himself gives the perfect feeling of someone tethered to a job they know they need to keep doing but are way over having to do. Ooh, and the stellar production design. It is just a treat to look at. From the on-air TV set to the frantic smoky backstage, it's all pitch perfect to the tone. The cinematography as well is just supreme. Perfectly leaning in and drawing out to give the scope and atmosphere of everything. The technicals of this movie are really fine-tuned to sell its aesthetic as much as possible. Speaking of the technicals, what's with all the fucking AI around here? It's time to address the 6-fingered elephant in the room. A lot of this shit was AI generated, and it all looks like fucking ass. If I remember correctly, the director's defense was that they were made just as mock-up for the professional artists to go off of, but then they never got a professional artist and just has to use what they had. And to that I say, motherfucker, just draw them yourself at that point. Even if they were shittily drawn, it could have added to the charm, but this is just soulless and puts a bad taste over the movie. You fucking idiots. It sucks that this had to happen to a good movie. Like, everything else is still pretty well done. You know, but also, fuck you.
Spooky clowns scare me.
Wait a minute. Terrifier 3 was actually good? Trust me, I didn't expect to say this as much as you didn't expect to hear it, but I think they actually tried with this one. While Terrifier 1 is pure garbage with almost no reason behind it, Terrifier 2 showed an attempt at refining the concept. Was it a very successful attempt? Debatable, but an attempt was made nonetheless, and that's what's important here. Terrifier 3 is the full realization of what Damien Leone was trying to do with Part 2. Bigger story, deeper characters, refined lore, bigger budget, and of course, even more gore. What was once a series of gore fests with not much else going for it, is now a thought-out story with real themes entwined to its core concept. You know, like a movie. Terrifier 3 follows the depressing aftermath of the previous film, and how Sienna and Jonathan are healing from the trauma with a genuine exploration of overcoming internal scars and not letting those scars overtake your life. There's an improvement to the writing on an innate level, showing a deeper interest in portraying this world and characters as an actual mythology with interesting themes to explore. You know, like a movie. This, coupled with the cast's more refined performances, I think finally solidifies Terrifier as a series capable of standing among its contemporaries. You know, if its contemporaries were all dog shit. I'm joking. While large improvements are made with Terrifier 3, that doesn't prevent it from falling into a lot of the same trappings as its predecessors. The pacing is still as wonky as Part 2's was. With the same inexplicably elongated runtime, you'll wait a long time for the characters to begin their retaliation against Art the Clown, but then he just shows up and they suddenly speedrun to the ending. Not every character gets a satisfying arc and will have their stories cut short, sometimes off-screen, with no resolution to cap it off. And the editing can be just as choppy as the last two films, but the strides made to improve the series are effective enough to mostly patch over these blemishes. Terrifier 3 is a commendable and successful effort to legitimize a modern horror icon, and I can't believe I'm looking forward to more. He does know Terrifier isn't a real word though, right? Like, it's not a real word. It doesn't mean anything. I hate typing it, because it's stupid. It's not a real word.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
I always get excited when a new original animated film is actually good, and thankfully Orion and The Dark is one of those films. Written by Charlie Kaufman, of all people, Orion is one of the most thoroughly thought-provoking films in DreamWorks' whole filmography. It presents its themes so bluntly and subtly at the same time that it leaves you thinking a lot about the questions it asks about the dichotomy between the light and dark of the world, and if you'd really be happy if you only had the good parts of your life without the bad balancing it out. And these themes and story are told with such top-notch visuals that use the film's lower budget as an advantage to stylize everything with a classic, simplistic children's book aesthetic, rather than using it as an excuse to cut corners. The most brilliant move this movie makes is when they rip the band-aid off 20 minutes in and reveal the whole thing is just Orion telling his daughter a story that he's literally making up on the spot as they go along. It allows the film a lot of creative freedom in the second half that they don't squander. The characters may be a little simplistic, but it works with the story enough that it's not distracting, mostly. I wish I could attach more to Dark himself, considering he's a big emotional crutch of the story, but unfortunately I didn't find myself feeling for him as much as I would have liked to. But still, this is already one of DreamWorks' sweetest and most unfortunately overlooked films in their library that deserves its time in the sun. Get it?
He's an asshole.
Hellboy the Crooked Man is pretty good as far as legal obligations go. If you're gonna shit out a movie just to keep the rights from relapsing, you might as well let the original creator do whatever he wants. Don't let the relatively low budget scare you. While the Crooked Man doesn't go for the action spectacle of, say, the Golden Army or something, it substitutes that with an eerie, macabre detective story. It plays into its limitations to create a unique tone compared to the previous films. It's not super chilling or spooky or whatever, but it's got a chill vibe throughout that adds to the intrigue. The biggest problem with this movie is honestly the story, and how inconsequential Hellboy himself is in the narrative. He's an extremely passive protagonist throughout that just gets strung along by the other characters. Hellboy rarely progresses the plot himself and is usually forced into the next scene by happenstance or an external force. It makes him feel like an uninteresting protagonist coasting off the familiarity the audience has with previous iterations of the character. The performance from Jack Kesey is still good, just wish the character is more actively involved. The Crooked Man almost plays like a fan film, if fan in this case meant the guy that literally made the source material. It stays super close to the original comic's attitude. Dark, moody, slow burn, eerie, and not super action-packed. This results in an earnest effort that, while a little underwhelming, still feels true to the character's spirit. Alright, but can the next one be animated already? Like, come on. It's so obvious. It would translate so easily. Like, just do it already.
Well, who was right? Who gets into heaven?
I'm afraid it was the Mormons. Yes, the Mormons were the correct answer.
Heretic shows the terrifying experience of debating a Reddit atheist. No, Christianity is actually just like Monopoly. Shut the fuck up. This movie is a perfect example of when an excellent lead performance elevates everything else around it. Hugh Grant grabs the material by the neck and morphs it into this hilarious, dangerously entertaining, twisted character that grants him unbelievable control of the screen. It's impossible to not find some sadistic fascination with how his character thinks and talks, pulling out such random pop culture references so he can reiterate the same point for the 300th time. He's the most annoying piece of shit. I love him. But I also want to give attention to Sophie Thatcher, who I believe plays an equally interesting character to Hugh Grant. There's a reserved sense of a troubled attitude to the subtlety of her mannerisms, immediately adding another level of intrigue to the overall story. I found the film's ideas about a religious influence and superiority to be an interesting forward into the conversation, but lacking in any real definitive follow-through statement about those themes. And unfortunately, I think the story does start to stretch itself thin near the end. If the pacing and length was just tightened down more, I feel the narrative would have been a lot more effective as a whole. You know, the pieces are all there, they just weren't put together properly. But Heretic is still a solid, tightly woven movie that happens to show a few cracks as it goes on. Don't appreciate what it says about people that have a special interest in music lawsuits, though. Kind of fucked up.
I'm not just a bitch.
I'm a bitch with a backstory.
Strange Darling was shot on 35mm. Did you guys know that it was shot on 35mm? Did you see that? Fuck you. I like that they glowed about it. The second most fucked up love story behind it ends with us. An intriguing, stylishly shot, perverse thriller with super effective storytelling and two standout lead performances. Willa Fitzgerald and Kyle Gallner are at each other's throat, in more ways than one, putting their all into the material. The manipulative nature of the Electric Lady's character is just as effective on the characters in the movie as it is on the audience. Fitzgerald is perfect at switching between a hopeless victim and perverted psycho on a dime, leading to a perfect blend of the two in the third act. What Strange Darling lacks in plot, it excels with in intrigue. There's a fascinating examination here on the exploitation of female struggle and how a malicious figure can use the inherent expectations set by real hardships to manipulate people for their own gain. So I guess what I'm saying is that my favorite scene is when she thumb-fucked herself. At first I was utterly terrified when I saw it was split into chapters, but thankfully it was actually to service the storytelling for once. It's nothing like revolutionary or anything, but it was an engaging and compelling way of twisting the audience's expectations. The only off thing is that anyone that isn't one of the main two leads gives a kind of odd performance. And not in a fun M. Night way, just in a weird way. Nothing major, but just some line deliveries here and there that took me out a bit. So while Strange Darling may not be extremely exceptional in any way really, it's still real damn good at what it does. Except that making pancakes, I don't know what was going on with those.
Of course I'm a bloody doctor.
Speak No Evil was the funniest comedy I saw all year. A movie that brilliantly taps into the most horrifying concept imaginable. Not vibing with someone you thought was cool. The first hour of this was genuinely killing me with its intentional cringe horror. I've never seen normal, awkward situations used as effective tension for a horror movie before, but I kinda love it. Getting that uneasy feeling that the person next to you is off in some way just from seeing the jokes they tell at dinner, or how they respond to seemingly innocuous comments. Like, oh, yeah, this guy's definitely crazy, but he hasn't done anything outright insane yet, so I won't say anything. Oh, and the actual horror part of this horror movie is pretty good too, I guess. James McAvoy is the obvious standout here, bringing absolute insanity that instantly perks up any scene he's in. But I also want to give special regards to Mackenzie Davis, Alex West Leffler, and Dan Howe, who all gave pretty damn impressive performances here too. Add on some slick directing and an intriguing story, and I say this was one of the biggest surprises of the year. I mean, after seeing the trailer 300 million times, I gave up all hope, so even if this was just passable, I'd say it was a surprise. Best part was the Happy Tree Friends cameo, TV series, Season 1, Episode 13.3, Double Whammy Part 2. Next! In a Violent Nature is the most expensive walkthrough ever. Would it be weird to call this movie calming when there's a scene where a woman's head gets pulled through her chest? When I heard the concept for this movie, a slasher where you follow the killer's perspective, I expected a fairly low-octane experience, but I was surprised when there ended up being a fair amount of interesting concepts at play here. The character of Johnny ended up being weirdly sympathetic for me. There was a somberness to his physicality that was effective at making me feel for him. Even without any stated lore or tragedy, I could feel a sad energy emanating from his presence. I guess it also helps that most of the people he kills are annoying as shit and totally deserved it. Am I allowed to say that? The lack of any score helps play into the immersive point of view, giving you a sense of emptiness that elevates the overall tone and atmosphere. The directing on display was another surprising aspect for me, with many slick camera movements and moments of very poignant cinematography sprinkled throughout. I will say I wasn't crazy about the ending. Like, I get what it's going for and why it's there, but it ultimately felt sort of tacked on and dragged out for me. In a Violent Nature not only surprised me, but soared past my expectations, resulting in an intriguing and unique viewing experience. You know, it's just like Before Sunrise if you think about it. You know, only if Ethan Hawke rips someone in half every 30 minutes.
I saw a guy do this in a toothpaste ad once. Ta-da!
Hundreds of Beavers is a movie that does indeed feature over 100 beavers. I have no fucking clue how to review this movie. How do I say this Looney Tunes ass movie was really good and funny without sounding overdramatic about it? The purposely shitty effects do a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to keeping this charming. The visual aesthetics of the whole film make this right at home with something you'd see on like 2009 classic YouTube. You know, timeless in how dated it is, if that makes sense. This movie is seamless in how it blends classic Looney Tunes slapstick and sight gags with the occasional blunt, modern-styled humor. You know, and the commitment to setup and payoff here is impeccable. Literally, every single little thing that gets brought up or mentioned gets an immediate comedic payoff, but also gets further and further built upon by the story to ridiculous levels. The underlying video game logic the characters operate on makes the story engaging in unexpected ways. Okay, but how many on-screen deaths are allowed until we consider something NC-17? Like, I fucking hate those beavers as much as the next guy. I get it, they're assholes. But this guy's methods started getting morbid to watch at some point. It's like a live-action Happy Tree Friends. Only with no blood. Most of the time. And a pole dancing scene.
Whoa! What is all this stuff?
I don't know, but it looks super dated. It's better. It's super 80s!
The 4:30 movie from my bastard father Kevin Smith brings back the nostalgic euphoria of 1980s film going. I was born in 2005, I don't know what any of this shit meant. On the patent pending Smithometer, I give this about a B+ or so. You know, somewhere around Zack and Miri Make a Porno. It's got all the Smith hallmarks you've come to know. Because you've seen all his movies, right? Right, motherfucker? You know, Star Wars references, shitty poop jokes, an excessive amount of saying the names of things from the 80s, forced third act fight, inexplicable connection to Clerks. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. Honestly, the 4:30 movie is pretty tame, all things considered. It's a pretty basic romantic comedy that fills most of its runtime with just random vignettes and non sequitur tangents, but at least they're entertaining enough vignettes. It's not uproariously funny, but I got a good chuckle now and then. The characters are charming, if a tad annoying, and it's overall a pretty basic but fun flick. Not a very accurate portrayal of the movie-going experience, though. There wasn't a single convicted sex offender in the whole thing.
Charlie, I think I found a hero worthy of delivering my gift.
Who?
It's you, Charlie.
Bip, I'd be honored.
The Lord of the Rings, the War of the Reshiram. The Lord of the Rings, the War of the Rohirrim, is an ambitious, beautiful, epic but like in a kind of sloppy way. The War of the Rohirrim starts off as an interesting exploration of the outskirts of Middle-earth, but then it quickly becomes clear that its scope was shrunken intensely at some point along the way. The story here has the potential to be pretty interesting, and maybe even paint the events of the Lord of the Rings trilogy in a new light, but ultimately it ends up just being like Diet Two Towers. You know, for a movie called War of the Rohirrim, that was a pretty tame war. Unlike previous Middle-earth films, you don't really see the intricacies of the bigger battle. There's not really any of those more personal moments showing how individual warriors are faring in a bigger fight and how it's affecting them personally. There's just the larger clashes of nameless soldiers smashing together, up until they hit pause and the entire middle chunk ends up being, quite literally, everyone sitting around waiting for another war to start. There is one exception though. The goat. The monster. The absolute beast. Helm motherfucking Hammerhand. Not only is this god among men voiced by an unbreakably committed Brian Cox, but his mere presence increases the film a full letter grade whenever he's on screen, leading to one of the greatest scenes I've seen all year. Helm Hammerhead is presumed dead, but his aura is so powerful that when people start dying in the middle of the night, everyone immediately assumes he came back to life as a soul-sucking ghost demon, when in actuality, he's just been going out and murking dudes with his bare hands because his bloodlust couldn't be quenched. He body bags 3 trolls on his own, literally punching the horn off of one with no effort, and then immediately goes on to one-shot half of the enemy army, once again with his bare hands, before being permanently frozen into a glorious victory pose. Long live Helm Hammerhand. His senseless rage may know no bounds. It almost makes me happy they funneled all the budget into the fight scenes. Yeah, the animation here is pretty up and down. The action sequences have an impressive amount of detail while keeping everything easy to read visually, but when there's a scene of just characters talking to each other, everyone just kind of wobbles back and forth. I mean, at least they have their priorities straight. It's a common issue you see with a lot of these bigger anime productions. If it's not Ghibli or Satoshi Kon, do not expect consistent animation quality. The War of the Rohirrim is at its best when it delves into using its medium to show something that's never been seen in Middle-earth before, or when it shows familiar concepts in new ways. But it unfortunately doesn't reach its full potential most of the time. Pretty good, but could definitely be better. Need more Gollum. Gladiator II did entertain me. Do you want more Gladiator? Here you go. Sorry if you were expecting some grand reinvention or twist on the Gladiator world, because Gladiator 2 acts more like an expansion pack for the first film. It's got bigger battles, more drama, 2 evil twinks. For all intents and purposes, it's just more Gladiator. But don't take that as a bad thing. It still has a lot of its own to offer, namely, its stellar cast. Denzel Washington and Pedro Pascal especially do a lot to add a lot of depth and presence to the story. The commitment and energy they bring here keeps the film invigorating throughout and will get you excited every time they show up. Now, Paul Mescal doesn't do a bad job per se. He just doesn't have much of a job to do. Lucius as a protagonist doesn't have nearly as much of an infectious presence as Maximus did, which isn't always a bad thing. He can work as more of a vessel for the story. He just loses his luster a bit when he's surrounded by such big personalities while he doesn't have one. Visually, I was a bit underwhelmed. Gladiator 1 is such a subtly beautiful looking movie, with entrancing colors and striking blocking with the actors on screen. Meanwhile, Gladiator 2 follows a pretty basic, rigid formula with shooting its scenes. The battles are done in a faraway, shaky cam with occasional zoom-ins on the killing blows. Conversations are in basic shot-reverse shot with 2 people sitting in a big empty room staring at each other. There are moments of visual flair and identity, namely a shot at the end with Lucius backdrop by a beautiful purple-tinted sky, that hint at a more visually gripping film, but those moments are few and far between, leaving us with an unengagingly basic-looking film. But ultimately, Gladiator 2 is here to entertain, and I can't deny that I was. The third act especially picks it up another level. With an immense grand scale, it really hooks you and injects hype directly into your veins. And all the Colosseum battles are as exciting as ever, if a little overzealous. So if you're looking for just pure entertainment, you can't really go wrong here. But if you're looking for an actually good story, get fucked.
Streamer commits identity fraud. Just like in the Beetlejuice movie. What the fuck? Wait a minute! Hey, ho! What's going on?
Beetlejuice, 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 Beetlejuice. Guys, sound the alarm. Tim Burton made a somewhat competent film. After 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 complete and utter failures, Beetlejuice turned out pretty alright, I guess. Turns out when your movie is nothing but non-sequitur ghost jokes, you don't gotta try that hard. Did we need a Beetlejuice sequel? No, but if we're gonna get one, this is probably as good as it's gonna get. Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, and especially Catherine O'Hara are still at the top of their game. And the new cast members fit in pretty perfectly. Willem Dafoe's having the time of his life. And that's pretty much the end goal. We're all just having fun here, not taking ourselves too seriously. So I guess as a pure comedy, this wins. But this movie also pretends to have a plot, and that's where it kind of shoots itself in the foot. And when I say plot, I mean there are scenes that set things up that have a 50-50 chance of actually leading to something. Welcome to Screenwriting Roulette. Which one of the 600 subplots are you gonna get? The dead wife plot? The dead father plot? The dead other guy plot? These are all real. The wedding plot? The other wedding plot? The dead cop plot? The mom and daughter plot? Take your pick! If you're going into this movie hoping for a gripping story, you can eat shit and fuck off. I mean, the original Beetlejuice wasn't exactly Lord of the Rings with its story, but like, it had main characters that had goals. Beetlejuice Dos just has a bunch of people doing shit. It's a goddamn free-for-all. Every character is fighting to suddenly take control of the story and just steer it off their own cliff that's better than everyone else's cliffs. And to their credit, it's still pretty fun. Despite the unnecessary, insane amount of baggage, it doesn't really feel like a major mess. All these different plots still service the tone and theme of the film, so there's still some connective tissue there to keep it together. So yeah, the 30-year late sequel to Beetlejuice, directed by post-Alice Tim Burton, somehow turned out pretty alright. It's a Christmas miracle!
Alright, I've run out of patience. On to Ruse!
Every year has that one movie that serves as a litmus test that divides the cinephiles of the world and drives them fucking insane. And unfortunately this year it was Civil War. I guess litmus test isn't exactly the right term to use here, because that would imply that you could pass the test, when in actuality having any take about this movie in the first place means you have already failed. My incorrect take is that this movie serves as a projection test on the viewer. The movie presents its characters, events, actions, and ideas without outright stating if any of it comes from the left or right, and it's expected of you as an audience member to, subconsciously or not, project a political party onto all these aspects. So it's kind of futile to look at this movie as a plot with characters and a story, and more as an examination of highly dense American politics and how you respond to it. And in that sense, it's pretty effective in getting you to think not only about the world, but also how and why you react to it in the way you do. People wanted the movie itself to make a definitive statement as to what side it's on. It's on the left, it's always the left. But I think it overall does work better as a starting point for further discussion. Okay, to backpedal a bit and talk about this like an actual movie, it can be a little bumpy, mostly in the dialogue area. When compared to Alex Garland's previous works, Civil War definitely has more movie dialogue, sounding dialogue, than something like Ex Machina or Annihilation did. It's not like the whole thing, but there's moments here and there that can come off as kind of corny and at odds with the tone. Thankfully, it's still beautifully shot, which has always been Garland's biggest strength. The vast wastelands of once populated cities turned desolate war zones are masterfully shot with such precision and intent. I mean, I'd hope the movie about photographers were to have good visuals. And this man's color grading is on another level. I don't know how he does it. All his movies have such beautiful colors, I want to drink them! Civil War is another pretty great entry in Garland's near flawless career. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the De La Soul needle drop though. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes serves as a strong start for something new, even if it's a little underwhelming on its own. As always, the effects are ridiculously good. I think Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and especially War of the Planet of the Apes still look a little better, but when compared to like the live-action Lion King movies, yeah, there's no competition. This series still has far and ahead probably the best visual effects of any blockbuster franchise out there. This shit looks better than real life does. I just wish this was all to service a better story and characters. I was really feeling it in the first half, but damn, this movie likes to drag. It's pretty much exactly when Rocka, the best character, dies, is when I felt everything slow to a crawl. Proximus Caesar didn't have enough screen time or weight behind his actions for him to feel like a big threat to me. We just have other characters tell us he's a big bad guy without actually seeing what makes him so cruel and dangerous. I think back to Woody Harrelson in War for the Planet of the Apes, which is also a long-ass movie, and how that film dedicated a good hour to him just beating down on Caesar before his eventual demise. And Kingdom has a similar setup with Proximus kidnapping Noah's village at the beginning, which sets him on a journey to track down Proximus, same way Caesar hunted the Colonel. But in Kingdom, Proximus just sends his soldiers to do his dirty work while he sits around and has William H. Macy read him bedtime stories. His presence isn't nearly as strong as it should be. Also, he gets killed by a fucking bird, and I don't want to continue being a hater, but I really don't care much for Noah, which sucks, because he's the main character. Oops! He was just like some guy. I don't see what makes him such a powerful, inspiring figure for the other apes. And maybe he's not supposed to be. But then what is he? I'm just not feeling his character yet. That doesn't matter because Rocka makes up for it. It is literally impossible for these movies to have bad orangutan characters. His blend of wisdom and humor was a breath of fresh air after the mostly quiet beginning. I did love what the movie had to say about legacy and followers. Both Rocka's respectful following of Caesar's words and Proximus's manipulation of ideology. It's an interesting topic that they explore thoroughly and provokingly. I would say it's something new from a summer blockbuster, but Dune Part 2 did it like 2 months before, so whoops. So I guess if I had to put my complicated feelings into one sentence, I'd have to say that this shit is bananas. B-A-N-A-N-A-S.
I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow.
Bad Boys Ride or Die is the greatest movie ever, I think. With Fast and Furious on its way out, I don't think it could have asked for a better franchise to take its place. It's really beautiful how Bad Boys has evolved from Michael Bay's gateway drug to lunacy into a free playground for up-and-coming directors to do whatever the fuck they want. Just from the first scene, this movie plays its full hand. Sweeping tracking shots from weird angles, a first-person shot from a gun, rapid-fire comedy between every character in the scene, a first-person shot from a watch, transition into the title card from a CGI Skittle. This is what Hitchcock was talking about. They invented new rules of cinema with this movie. Every movie from here forth is now required to include the third act alligator. It's in the rules. This movie is shot like Challengers. They threw that damn camera wherever they felt like. It'll follow a flying gas canister, circle around an elevator, it'll go first-person Doom POV, it'll transition from a security camera into an action scene, it'll follow a gun being thrown across the room and then lock into place, it'll just start flying around for no reason. It really doesn't care. But then Martin Lawrence has a heart attack that sends him to the Shadow Realm via a Kingdom Hearts transition where he meets God, aka Joe Pantoliano, who gives him immortality, which prompts him to piss off the top of the hospital, and you realize you're watching the birth of auteurs. Also Michael Bay cameo. By the time we get to Bad Boys 7, cinema will finally be saved.
Are those dogs fresh?
Joining us tonight from his home in Phoenix, Arizona, Franklin.
Hello, Ted.
Welcome Home, Franklin is the most successful apology video ever. It's about time that bald fuck repented. While this does have a more formulaic and basic story than the previous Snoopy Presents specials, it still carries that same genuine heart and gorgeous animation to cement it as another banger in the Peanuts lineup. The way these recontextualize and expand upon the Peanuts world and concepts is always so fascinating and eye-opening. They could make one for literally every single little thing or character that's ever been brought up and it would still end up being amazing. Screw it, give me the Pigpen origin story, I'm ready for it. Moral of the story is that everyone needs to watch all my funny Snoopy cartoons right now, immediately, at this moment. Go.
Alright, who's ready to prove who's not only the best spy, but the best family of spies?
Spy Family Code White was a good reminder that I actually do like this show. In smartly cutting the fluff and sparsely using the usual Spy Family tropes, Code White is able to bring the series to its highest narrative peak yet. Finally, they have delivered a story where Lloyd, Yor, and Anya each individually have their own goals and arcs while also having an overall arc for the whole family. There's no room for 800 side characters to waste time here, except Yuri, who is unfortunately not dead yet. Other characters have brief appearances or mentions, but the film stays very focused on the core family members. And props to this movie for being an anime film that not only uses its increased budget to improve the general animation, but also uses it to experiment and add visually exciting sequences that are done in completely new, breathtaking styles. One of those sequences is about taking a shit, but that's besides the point. This film stands as a reminder that what made Spy Family so enjoyable in the first place was the perfect balancing act it performed with its charming comedy and energizing action that made the show, and especially this movie, such an addictive story to follow along with. It also stands to further embarrass Demon Slayer. Fuck you, Demon Slayer!
I feel like I've got a little bit of Cousin It vibes going right now.
Fancy Dance makes me even angrier about the Oscars. Oh my god! While director Erica Tremblay's passionate tale of tragedy and love is hard-hitting with an unforgettable Lily Gladstone at the forefront, it is also a little basic at times. If you've seen one indie road trip drama, you've seen them all. And while Fancy Dance does repeat a lot of beats from this genre, it repeats them really fucking well. Of course, in no small part thanks to Lily Gladstone, got me barking at the screen, who is able to seamlessly go from desperate sadness to chilling manipulation within the same scene. The range she displays is really incredible and further proves she's one of the most exciting actors working today. So even though the film may be a little bit predictable with its story and characters, the excellent performances of its top-notch cast are able to push it to its furthest potential. Lily Gladstone, if you want to call me, my number is 480. My Old Ass is about growing up and falling in love, so I can't fucking relate. An effectively written and hilariously charming examination on the transformation of adulthood, with fantastic showcases from Maisie Stella and Aubrey Plaza. The movie almost feels like it gets its footing along the way as the protagonist does, starting off somewhat aimless before setting off on its true goal. Even if it follows a lot of coming-of-age cliches and the message is extremely heavy-handed, it's still incredibly resonant with the tone of the film and how real and self-fulfilling it all feels. There's a strong personal tinge to everything about this movie. The characters, the plot, the setting, the themes. It all feels like extremely real experiences that can resonate with just about anyone. Just a charmingly sweet and crushingly real film that was clearly crafted with such love that I couldn't help but feel for it by the end. It's the best thing Justin Bieber has done in years.
Alive! It's alive! Alive! It's alive? Really?
Lisa Frankenstein is the most heartfelt movie where a guy gets his dick chopped off by an axe-wielding zombie. Somewhere between Monster High and Jennifer's Body, this movie is just so lovely with its unique premise, fun script, pitch-perfect production design, energizing soundtrack, entertaining performances from all involved, and the fact that Cole Sprouse doesn't say a single word. This movie's pure irreverence for taking itself seriously does nothing but benefit it in the long run. Everything feels so timeless, even though it apparently takes place in 1989, and utterly hilarious. There's no bogging itself down with tone-breaking drama or unfitting deep philosophical ideas. It's pure gothic comedy for the sake of pure gothic comedy. That's not to say it's completely emotionally absent. You do feel for Lisa and how absurdly awful her life is. Any movie that gets me to root for murder in the sake of building a better Cole Sprouse is a winner in my eyes. Welcome back, Astro Boy. Ultraman Rising kinda just came out of nowhere. No big build-up to release. There wasn't years and years of waiting. It was just like a month before release and Netflix dropped a trailer out of nowhere like, hey, American animated Spider-Verse styled Ultraman movie. Okay, see you later. Why would they do that? Do they have no faith in the project? Are they trying to soften the blow? Is it bad? No, it turns out they're just stupid. A fresh take on tokusatsu, breathtaking animation and composition, and a thoughtful story with compelling characters. Ultraman Rising is another highlight in the modern legacy of kaiju media. This is not a movie about fighting monsters. This is a movie about Ultraman raising a baby kaiju with the face of Chicken Little. Which is fucking genius. Apparently this has been being pitched around for like 20 years, and maybe now is the best time it could have been made. The animation quality is insane for the scale of the production. The posing in the action gets pushed as far as possible with effects that harken to the original show's quirkiness. And the chicken lizard is adorable. I love you, chicken lizard. And drone mommy. Okay, that's enough.
So, I'm Dracula's daughter, Draculaura. Oh, don't be afraid. I'm a vegetarian.
I guess you could say Abigail was a real nail in the coffin. It sure did have a lot of stakes. I'm really glad it didn't suck. Garlic. This movie kind of fucking rocks, actually. The cast is an amazing ensemble. The production design completely sells the aesthetic, and the script is airtight, for the most part. The movie is pretty much flawless for the first hour, but once they get around to the third act, it starts to falter. It slows down majorly to set up this epic vampire final battle that wasn't disappointing or underwhelming, per se, but it didn't exactly stack up to the rest of the film, in my opinion. Whereas the first hour of the film is energetic and never lets up, that final act felt a little drawn out and meandering. But that's really my only big complaint. As previously stated, the cast is hilarious and have tons of chemistry. Every character is so finely tuned to the plot and world, and each one stands out among the crew. They're all a joy to watch. Not to mention the set is crazy with detail. It's just a fun, gory blast from beginning to end. Morbius joke.
All I wanna do is see you turn into a giant woman, a giant woman. All I wanna be is someone who gets to see a giant woman.
Love Lies Bleeding is somehow not the only movie this year featuring lesbians hiding a corpse in their trunk. This movie's fucking gross. Everyone's sweaty as shit because they're in Arizona, and Kristen Stewart is scooping shit out of toilets with her fucking hands, and there's blood everywhere, and Ed Harris eats a beetle for no reason. Imagine the smell. The fact that everyone in this movie is a goddamn lunatic goes a long way in keeping the energy up and the plot engaging. Everyone is one slip up away from beating the ever-loving shit out of each other. It greatly builds the tension and keeps you locked in the whole time. If anyone says they could accurately predict the ending to this movie, they're a goddamn liar. To be honest, I do wish the third act was more focused. As it is, Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien kind of take turns going back and forth being the leads, and it can feel a little disjointed and aimless at times. Also, I just didn't like the ending, I'm sorry. Mostly the giantess transformation part, the rest was pretty standard, but that was maybe just a bit far for me. And mostly because I'm stupid and can't decipher what's supposed to really be happening. Unless it was all literal. Oh, fuck if I know. What if her name was Freaky Stewart and she ate ass and sucked toes?
An alien named Keeper entrusted them to dinosaurs.
You must keep the energems safe.
As for Sledge, it's a bomb!
Carry On is like if Die Hard 2 was good. What an unexpectedly fun and pulpy 90s style action thriller. Jason Bateman's conniving performance as an over-the-phone terrorist breathes a ton of life into the tension this movie builds. The banter built between him and Taron Egerton's TA agent character has such a rhythmic electricity to it that makes the story intensely engaging. What can I say? I love me a crafty terrorist. That was a joke, CIA, don't arrest me. That was a joke, CIA, don't arrest me. The utilization of the film's airport setting is absolutely superb. They don't leave any inch of this place untouched. The bar arcade becomes plot important, like they absolutely refuse to leave anything behind. It becomes this jungle gym of opportunity that opens the scope of the film brilliantly. And the film's visuals were pretty well above what I was expecting too. A lot of stylish lighting and great blocking to create a sleek look that plays into the claustrophobic story. Well, half the story. When it gets to the last 40 to 30 minutes, it definitely starts to drag. I feel like they either could have wrapped it up way faster or way earlier. And I would have appreciated if the side characters had more development behind them for how much of the story they take up. Though it did lead to that fucking phenomenal car fight, so I can't complain too much. Carry On is an extremely solid action bottle film that takes the extra step to elevate its material in almost every way it can. In the pantheon of airport cinema, it's above a Die Hard 2, but doesn't come close to the GOAT Toy Story 2.
I've been called out by everybody for the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. Homer Simpson.
The Apprentice is about some guy, I don't know, I never heard of him. So here's the thing. I fucking hate Trump. Welcome to the world's first bio-diss. Sebastian Stan spent however much of his life physically turning himself into Donald Trump just to fully drive the point home that he was a massive fucking loser. He's a fraud, He gypped his whole personality for more successful people. All his original ideas were the dumbest fucking things ever. He thought you could get AIDS just from coming into contact with a gay person. Everyone that ever met him fucking hates him. And this would all make for a much more interesting film if I didn't already know all this for the better part of 8 years at this point. If you've ever spent more than 2 minutes looking into Trump lore recently, this movie will have nothing to surprise you with. Like, to the point that when Diet Coke showed up, I mentally checked it off the easy Trump joke checklist. So that leads me to asking, who exactly is this for? It can't be for people that know the Trump story, but I can't imagine it's for people that are uninformed about his history, because 1, who doesn't know at this point, and 2, if someone has gotten this far and knows nothing about Donald Trump, they're either actively avoiding it or are 5. So either way, those people aren't going to be watching this in the first place. So I guess it's for anyone that happens to accidentally walk into a theater showing it. Okay, but looking beyond a confusing target audience, this is still a very well-crafted film. The production design is top-notch, nailing the aesthetic and design of 1970s rich society in New York City. Sebastian Stan does a deceivingly excellent job portraying Trump, especially in the physicality. The way he looks more and more like Trump while he gains his most notable characteristics as the film progresses is a subtly genius storytelling trick that pays off hugely. There was a point where he looked and acted so closely to the real thing that I thought it was true archival news footage for a moment. The presentation all throughout is nailed to the finest detail. You'll be hard-pressed to find a glaring flaw anywhere. The Apprentice is a flawed concept executed masterfully. I just think the Hillary Clinton post-credit scene was a bit much, to be honest.
I'm from the future.
And I'm from the past.
But that don't mean this friendship wasn't built to last.
He was made in a lab and I was born in a cave. So let me hear you holler for this inter-era raid.
There is truly nothing out there like Robot Dreams. The wonderful animation, charming and heartwarming story, and unique themes make it one of the most one-of-a-kind animated films made in years. If I had to compare this to anything, it's almost like a heightened take on the Before trilogy, examining the full relationship of these two characters, from them meeting to them splitting paths, and beautifully showcasing how the admiration they have for each other irreversibly changes the outlook they have on their lives. There is a stunning amount of detail and emotion in the animation that may not seem super impressive at first glance, but when you're actually watching the film, it seeps into you subtly with all these nuanced movements and expressions. The story told here is so transformative with its emotions, where happiness can be depressing, melancholy is uplifting, and all of it feels real as hell, and I have to highlight the ending, which just completely floored me. The longing for a reunion, the longing for reconnecting, but also the understanding that it's not possible. That moving on doesn't mean you've lost, but that you've grown, and the life you have now can be as good as the one before it if you let it. So many amazing feelings and emotions put into this whole film, and also a lot of really hot background characters. Okay, I'm not gonna do that. Sasquatch Sunset is fucking stupid and I love it. Finally, there's a movie dedicated to spending its entire budget on high-quality Sasquatch costumes and nothing else. This movie takes some big swings. Big, long, draping, dangling, floppy swings. It doesn't care about your tastes. It's not gonna try to adhere to human sensibilities. It's Sasquatches shitting and pissing and fucking and sucking for 88 minutes. If you don't fuck with that, I don't fuck with you. The nature documentary style is used to great effect to get the best cinematography and humor out of the concept. The hands-on filming really accentuates how well thought out and interesting the autonomy of how Sasquatches survive in the wild. This is truly a movie made for the few. It's not gonna win over the crowds, and it's not trying to. This is your worst mutual's favorite movie, and they're never gonna shut the fuck up about it. I'm your worst mutual. I love the costumes, the uniqueness, the designer that had to sculpt Sasquatch penis and balls. There's nothing out there like it. But I still can't tell which one is Jesse Eisenberg. Godzilla Kong: The New Empire continues the inexplicable but highly welcome success of the MonsterVerse. How is it that this series has fallen into so many of the same trappings as other failed universes while also having unique problems of its own, and yet still manages to continuously outperform expectations both financially and critically? Well, critically, audience-wise. As soon as I think they've taken the monster antics as far as they can go, they go full Showa era and have this cocky anime villain ape with a whip made from dinosaur bones that has a magic crystal attached at the end that mind controls an ice dragon. This movie has absolutely perfected monster filmmaking. The long stretches where it's just Kong exploring the Hollow Earth, where kaiju slapping the shit out of each other, are far and ahead way more engaging than anything with the human characters. Look, Kong and Zuko are the closest I'm getting to a Donkey Kong Country movie anytime soon, so I'm just going to enjoy it while I can. And I believe it's high time we finally get a MonsterVerse film with no human leads. Maybe you could squeeze in the deaf girl, but other than that, I think they're just not needed at all. Because all they do is slow these films to a crawl whenever they're on screen. This movie might have been an actual masterpiece if it was all monsters all the time, or if they got to the all monsters all the time part just a little quicker. You may think it's a little unrealistic to ask for a movie starring nothing but CGI characters that can't talk, and to that I say I genuinely welled up a little when Godzilla saw Mothra for the first time after she was revived, and didn't even blink when Rebecca Hall thought she was losing her adoptive indigenous daughter. So look at me and tell me that lizards and monkeys can't lead movies. I was smiling like a goddamn idiot through the entire last 30 minutes, actively engaging with the action and reading sincerely to the characters. I absolutely adore the MonsterVerse, and I'm proud to say that the new Empire expertly highlights the series' strongest elements while making strides in improving its weak spots. Now make a solo Mothra movie already!
I don't sit in while you're running it down. I don't carry a gun. I drive.
The Fall Guy, starring Emily Blunt and me! That's me right there, that's me! Much like how Mission Impossible is based on a TV show no one's ever heard of, The Fall Guy uses the basic premise of a TV show no one's ever heard of to tell its own hilarious, exhilarating, and lovingly stupid story. This film hinges on Gosling and Blunt to sell the characters and their scenario, which they thankfully do with flying colors. They both keep the campy fun at the forefront of their performances while still slipping that real emotion when needed. That can be said of the movie as a whole, really. 99% of the time it's goofy, balls-to-the-walls stunts and action, but they don't forget to let the characters breathe at the necessary moments. There is some really impressive and awe-inspiring practical action on display here, especially when you see the raw footage of it all during the credits. They really did make that canyon jump. They really did drag that trash dump across the road. They really did jump onto that helicopter. It goes a long way with injecting a ton of charm into what would be pretty standard fare elsewhere. I will say the genre can be a little unbalanced. It's an action rom-com, which is to say that the first 20 minutes are a rom-com, the next 2 hours are an action movie, and then the last 5 minutes are a rom-com again. There are little moments here and there where they try to have a romantic moment in the middle of an action set piece, but there's still a huge chunk in the middle where it's just straight action. And unfortunately that means Emily Blunt kind of takes a backseat for a while there. I think they definitely could have made her more proactive in the overall plot. As it is, she's not exactly underutilized, but there's absolutely some room to grow there. Also, no one would make a movie called Metal Storm. If your movie about making movies is going to be about a fake movie, at least come up with a believable fake movie title. Pedantic nitpicking aside, David Leitch's directing is still as on point as it was in Bullet Train, with a fight sequence in here that straight up looks like it's out of Scott Pilgrim out of nowhere. All of it coming together to create one of the most pleasant surprises in recent times. I did a damn good job if I do say so myself.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey.
Alien Romulus finally answers the question, what if Rogue One was good? The Alien franchise has gone all over the place. Genre-defining classics, Oscar-winning follow-ups, botched experiments, the shitty Joss Whedon one, thought-provoking auteur pieces, botched thought-provoking auteur pieces, and now Romulus. A back-to-basics horror experience reminding us what this series was about from the start. Showcasing amazing practical effects. I mean, seriously, look at those Xenos and those facehuggers. Whew! They've never looked better, honestly. Oh man, the Offspring is crazy, and his band is pretty cool too. The true MVP of this film is obviously David Johnson as Andy. presenting one of the greatest performances of the entire franchise, at times even rivaling Michael Fassbender as David. There's an exciting amount of range showcased within this single role, with Johnson switching between both a timid, neurodivergent coded brother and a company program synthetic while flawlessly portraying both with a brilliant sense of depth. Fede Alvarez injects just the right amount of sadistic gore and slow burn intensity, with a dashing of a Raimi influence in there, and some of the most dazzling lighting I've seen in a horror movie in a long time. Can you tell he made an Evil Dead movie before? Alright, it's time to talk about the CGI elephant in the room. I don't know how they got Ian Holm for this movie considering he died 4 years ago. It's such a glaring, disrespectful creative decision that I have no good excuse for. At first I thought it was just for one scene and I was like, alright, that's weird, but at least it'll be gone soon. But then he kept showing up! They reanimated a dead man to make him a minor antagonist in the 9th Alien film and then run him into an asteroid field. I hate it. I really, really hate it. Oh man, this really is like Rogue One, but still. Alien Romulus is slick, scary, and maybe a bit self-indulgent, but it's still the shot in the arm the Alien franchise desperately needed.
Oh, these are pretty cool bananas.
Monkey Man is a movie made out of pure fucking rage. You wouldn't believe this was Dev Patel's directorial debut considering how clear and established his vision already is. I mean, this dude's blocking game is insane. There are so many shots that have such poignant visuals that make this an enthralling movie just to look at. And all of this is to service the amazing, emotionally charged story. Fuck the police, trans rights, kill the president with your bare hands. A passionate whirlwind of emotions all clashing together to create a tidal wave of chaotic cultural pride and deep-seated fury, with a dollop of top-tier action on top as a fun little bonus. Kid's gradual rise from the Glass Joe of the Ring to a mostly unstoppable killing machine was masterfully showcased. A visual exploration of when years of suppressed anger is unleashed all at once. This shit was bananas. B-A-N-A-N-A-N.
Until forever. Do you guys ever think about dying?
Sometimes I think about dying as the most depressing, cringe-inducing, uncomfortable, eerie, and depressing movie I've seen in a while. Which is why it's so great. It's a beautifully shot, deeply tangible exploration of the traumatizing horror that is making small talk with people in public. This is one of the most realistic movies I've seen in a long-ass time, in terms of how these people act and talk at least. I am not proud to say that this movie is remarkably relatable. There are so many moments that flash the most horrific memories of my life in my head that made me want to fold in on myself until I popped out of existence. Daisy Ridley finally gets to act in a real movie for once and she does it masterfully. One of my absolute favorite performances in a while that I will probably think about forever, honestly. You can see so much complex feeling just by looking at how hollow yet observant her eyes are. She has a million thoughts going through her mind, but they all just say the same thing. And I bet you can't guess what it is. I fucking despise Robert. He's not only a cinephile, but he thinks he's way funnier than he is. What an asshole. He probably ranks all the movies he sees in a year. Don't even get me started on the cinematography. Every shot is so precisely set up with superb blocking. The decision to never have the camera actively moving does wonders for the melancholic tone of it all. All of that in tandem with the stellar color grading makes this a surprisingly cozy watch. You know, my only real problem is that I spilled an entire can of Pepsi on my bed while I was getting ready to watch it, so I was definitely thinking about dying at that point, I can tell you that much.
Am I good at screaming? I think I am good at screaming. I can scream for you.
Let me hear you.
Maxine! Ooh boy, Maxine. Where do I start? Okay, well let me just say that I really do enjoy a lot of this movie. There's just that one kind of big part, but you know, we'll get there, I can't get enough of the brilliant evolution of the aesthetic set up by Pearl and X, going from the Technicolor origins of Hollywood to the Texas Chainsaw grunge of the 70s, ending up at the bloody horror boom of the 80s. You know, the sleek neon nights of LA make for a beautiful backdrop to the disgusting, filthy, horrid shit the characters go through. You know, seeing a guy's testicles get stomped on has never been so dazzling. And the movie as a whole is wonderfully shot, though there are a few sequences that are just a little too dark for my tastes. And it's great to see Kevin Bacon and Giancarlo Esposito devour the scenery in every scene, along with Mia Goth, Moses Sumney, and Lily Collins' wonderful character performances. And of course the gore effects are a spectacle to see as always. So yeah, Maxine stands pretty well against the other two entries in this trilogy. Well, that is until you get to the third act. I don't know what happened here, but pretty much as soon as Maxine sets out after the Night Stalker at the end, the film just continuously trips over itself until the credits hit. It really is the cartoonish evil father twist that just kills it for me. It's so unserious, but I don't think it's supposed to be. When they set up Maxine's dad in X, I thought that was the extent of it. Just oh look, that's an effective hitting final sting. But then he shows up here, and he's the Midnight Stalker, and he's yelling like a cartoon scientist character, flailing his arms around. It's just such an unsubtle and undercutting ending, it damages the rest of the film. The ending being so random and unsatisfying makes the rest of the movie feel uncohesive and disconnected to not just X and Pearl, but to itself. When the two cops come out of the bushes and started firing down the cult members in a big shootout, I felt like I was watching Bad Boys. I just had to sit there in bafflement as the film threw away everything it was working to and started making shit up as it went along because they didn't write an ending in time. It's such a disappointing and confusing ending to this finale. At least the first two acts were able to mostly hold up the finale to keep this from being a complete dud, but still, it sucks that you leave the film with a bad taste in your mouth. Oh well. Another divisive third entry for the pile.
Ned, stop! It must be killed. It bears the mark of the beast.
The First Omen just might be the greatest prequel that never needed to exist. I didn't even realize this was the 6th movie in a decades-old franchise until like a month after it came out, and even then I thought it was a lie. At first I passed it off as another generic Catholic horror, but when I saw unanimous praise start bubbling up from the horror community, I started to suspect that there may be something more nefarious at play here. And damn man, this shit was gnarly. Engagingly disgusting story, striking yet creepy cinematography, and a freaky, standout performance from Nell Tiger-Free. The First Omen is one of the most ambitiously artistic studio horror films we've gotten in a damn long time. The eerie atmosphere is all-encompassing and drenches the whole movie in a haunting, evil tone, adding another layer of immersion to the horror. Director Akasha Stevenson inputs a cutting-edge visual language that does wonders in conveying the terrifying weight of the story. From the first scene, there's a striking sense of dread that hits hard as hell and never lets up as the spiraling terror becomes more and more demonic until the tragic finale unfolds. As prequels go, you can go in completely blind to the series and still get a full experience, bearing some stuff near the end. The First Omen goes to show that even if your franchise is home to utter trash like The Omen 4, it's never too late to come back with a terrifying, thrilling, dramatic, artistic new entry to inject a new life into a once thought dead genre.
You didn't have to cut me off. Stick that like a never. No, we were nothing. I don't even need your love, but you treat me like a stranger, and I feel so loved.
Jesus fucking Christ. Megalopolis is the last movie ever made forever. There is nothing I can say to exaggerate this film. I have been beaten. I lay down my sword and welcome the enemy's dagger. When Shia LaBeouf is dressed as a Roman and cackles to himself that, and I quote, "Revenge is best served in a dress," I simply have to accept that the film is above me. It transcends all that I can comprehend. The camera has no rules. The screenplay lifts above the paper it's typed on. The actors stare through the screen directly at you, fully aware of what you're thinking. Do not go in expecting to stand a chance. The facade of a story is there to lead you in, only to dash away all cohesion for the sake of unfathomable lunacy. It takes but one sentence, and or classic literature quote, to completely change the character's trajectory. Every scene they have a new end goal. The story only exists in the now. A step into the future is a step into a new reality. The visuals are a cacophony of nonconformist insanity. I can't even begin to envision what it takes to come up with a singular frame of this movie. Lights shine in from impossible angles, changing color at will. There's an impossibility to the scale, with endless stretches of copper and gold buildings. All of this is bound to the megalon, a force of will that exists to create the impossible visions of not only the characters, but the filmmaker himself. The meaning of creation is questioned, with Coppola attempting to redefine the word itself. What is creation for in our age? Are we here to build the future? Do we need to build the future now so that the next generation's present isn't controlled by our unachieved future? Is the future a building, or is the future a baby? This is Megalopolis. Rape subplot was shit and written bad. I know his ass isn't talking. Okay, yeah, this movie is a blessing for its mere existence and all that, but a lot of it is still, like, not good. I have no fucking idea what happened. There's no cohesion between scenes. Half the script is made up words. There's a character named WoW Platinum. More and more and more shit just gets added on top that has nothing to do with anything, I think, and only serves to bloat the runtime. The theme has no presence until literally the last scene where they spell it out for you, because this movie has the subtlety of an atomic bomb, and there's just a clear heaping of ego over the entire thing. When Coppola's self-insert says, "You think 1 year of medical school entitled you to plow through the riches of my Emersonian mind?" you have to wonder what viewpoint this is all coming from exactly. A filmmaker that clearly fears the passage of time, someone that has been told for his whole career that he's made the greatest film of all time, self-financing a passion project that has rotted in the corner of his brains for 40 years, can only lead to an unfathomable weight of a film. It's a semi-truck you pay to get hit by. It is the greatest movie of our generation and is composed entirely of complete bullshit. Welcome to Megalopolis.
Religion. Please, give me Jesus. The Pope. The Pope. Absolutely.
Conclave is the most engaging drama I've seen since James Charles and Taddy Westbrook. Conclave feels like a very classically made election procedural, like something from the 60s or mid-90s. While it does take the subject of the electoral vote for a new pope very seriously and thoroughly plays out every aspect of it, there's still a sense of heightened reality to the overall tone that plays up the drama to a pretty entertaining degree. The characters are comically petty and bitter towards each other, but I think that only adds to the film's presentation rather than take away from its tone. Every actor gives an excellent performance, namely Ralph Fiennes, Stanley Tucci, John Lithgow, and Carlos Diaz, who all bring their scenes to another level with how they capture the screen and add a heap of personality to the film. The movie is shot wonderfully as well, with very intentional blocking that creates these striking frames that are a treat to look at. To be honest though, it does run a bit long for what it is. You could probably shave about 10 minutes here, but as it is, it's not a huge detriment or anything. Conclave is still a sleek and tightly crafted procedural drama that deserves all the glowing praise it's received. Still did not have as many twists as James Charles and Taddy Westbrook. Like, once again, I have to mention it because that shit was crazy. If you were not there, you would not get.
What's that?
No, don't.
Traps Illustrated? Freddy!
Trap is accidentally the best Hitman movie we've gotten, complete with conveniently oblivious civilians and unrealistic costume changes. It's also accidentally the best Shyamalan movie. Out of the 6 I've seen. The concert section of this movie is so endlessly entertaining, it's almost to the film's detriment. I was so engrossed and locked in that when they left the concert and everything after that was just fine, it was almost a little disappointing. Josh Hartnett's character is the funniest person on the planet. Whenever he has to interact with another human, I was just cracking up like a fool. He overcompensates so much for pretending to be a normal person that his delivery of what should be normal lines is exaggerated to the point of being uncomfortable. Like, if you were in person talking to this guy, you'd probably think he's a serial killer. And this isn't a bad thing. I absolutely loved it. I think it's extremely appropriate for what this movie is. I think it's pushed just enough to where M. Night might be slightly aware that his dialogue is a little goofy, but also it fits and ultimately serves the overall world and tone. And then when Hartnett's character has to be a killer, he's just an ass. He's always just looking around at everything like, what can I fuck with here? He's so cute, I hope he dies. And all of this is enhanced with M. Night's superb directing and cinematography. Even when he makes a mid-film like Old, it's still shot absolutely fantastically. And Trap is no exception, with so many genius uses of the camera that it honestly brings to question why Shyamalan's name isn't brought up more when talking about the most skillful filmmakers. Sure, not all of his films are bangers, but he always knows how to use the camera to its fullest. So yeah, I really like Trap, but I also defend After Earth, so maybe you should just never listen to me. you told me a 30-year late sequel to Twister was going to be one of the highlights of the year, I'd be mortified. But after seeing it, I'm just really horny now. A wonderful throwback to the disaster movies of yesteryear. Twisters is a smartly made Hollywood thrill ride with true craft behind it. I want to start with how subtly beautiful this movie is shot. It may not be obvious when looking at still shots, but when you're actually watching the film, it can be stunning to look at times. It has these huge, sweeping shots with perfect blocking that keeps all the action in frame and easily identifiable. It really is thrilling to see it all unfold. And speaking of thrills, this shit can get tense. Dude, that pool scene, I swear I started shaking in my seat. I damn near fell out. And why did that guy do that? Is he stupid? While the characters aren't the most in-depth or emotional, Daisy Edgar Jones, Glenn Powell, and Anthony Ramos still give pretty fantastic performances for the material. They all have a clear emotional arc throughout the film, and their change is displayed pretty flawlessly with a good amount of dramatics and subtle ticks to pick up on. It is a little longer than I think it needed to be, and I do prefer the original overall. And I'm also not the biggest fan of how much CGI there is. Like, come on, they couldn't make all those little plastic balls for real. But those are the tiniest of negatives I can give. Twisters is a surprisingly strong film from pretty much every angle, and goes to show that maybe Hollywood filmmaking isn't dead after all. It's a horrible adaptation of the game, though. Drive Away Dolls sure does have a lot of flaccid penises in it for a movie about lesbians. This is a true cinematic joyride. As soon as this movie hits the pedal to the floor, it refuses to touch the brakes. Okay, that's enough car analogies. I just had an absolutely delightful time with this film. The script is solid and funny, the pacing is pure perfection, the story was a hell of a ride, and everyone involved understood the material perfectly. A movie so unserious about itself that it draws you in with its irreverence, bringing you along for some of the most unabashedly ridiculous comedy in recent years. I mean, I could never truly dislike a movie that uses Windows Movie Maker transitions throughout the whole thing. Congrats to Ray William Johnson on his first editing job for a feature film. This may not be the most insightfully deep movie out there, but as a quick bout of lesbian road trip escapism, it does a damn fine job of being a good time. And that's all you really need sometimes. Am I allowed to say this was my first Coen Brother movie without being laughed at? Okay, correction. This is my first Coen Brothers movie, if you don't count Garfield the movie.
Come on, every pony, smile, smile, smile. Fill my heart up with sunshine, sunshine. All I really need is a smile, smile, smile from these happy friends of mine.
Smile 2 did not need to go that hard. Spoiler alert, I don't like Smile 1. I found it majorly boring and uninteresting and didn't understand where all the hype came from. So in the lead up to Smile 2, I was completely apathetic towards its existence. I knew I was going to see it, but I only expected to be fine with it at most. I am far more than just fine with this. Fuck this movie for being so good. Off the top, this is a gorgeous movie. Eye-popping cinematography, sweeping one-take sequences, striking staging and blocking, and an overall directorial vision that injects so much style and personality into the film that it immediately puts it above the first at an innate level. The claustrophobic filming of everything enforces the suffocating tension the lead character is grappling with, and effectively keeps an underlying sense of danger and fear at all times. Speaking of the lead character, Naomi Scott, from Lemonade Mouth, is perfect as Sky Riley, aka the Throat Goat. She's an unstoppable, commanding force on the screen, taking charge of every scene with a piercing performance that plays as the core of the movie that lifts everything else around her. The drama, the horror, the characters, the story, it all gets elevated when centered on Naomi Scott's performance. The character of Sky Riley has this intriguing, tragic quality to her story that feels super resonant. With her being a pop star that is constantly reminded that hundreds, if not millions of people are counting on her to make music to make their lives better, while her herself is struggling to get any help in making herself happy, being haunted by endless smiling faces, not from the demons, but of an entire world of strangers constantly staring her down. It's kind of a genius integration of the horror gimmick and tying it to the core theme of the overall series. That doesn't mean this needed to be 2 hours long. By the time of the 4th or 5th dream sequence, it's like, alright, we get it, pal, let's get somewhere now. Those scenes are still good, but when it's one after another like this, they start to lose their luster. And the ending is super predictable, obviously. It was the first thing I thought of when I heard this was about a pop star, but it's still a somewhat enticing setup. If you think about it, if they go through with this, Parker Finn will have essentially tricked himself into remaking The Happening. Mass suicide horror, my favorite. Is that a good enough joke to end this part? I feel like I should write one, but I don't know what to put.
I want to be the next SNL cast member, and here's why I should be a contender.
Live from the 5-hour and 36-minute mark of this video, it's the review for Saturday night. If I made Ghostbusters Afterlife, I would also apologize by making a movie this good. I don't have this like storied history with SNL, but what I do have is an appreciation for fine comedy. And Saturday Night is a demonstrated tribute to fine comedy. Nearly the whole movie is timed to its electric and kinetic score, keeping a frantic pace that allows the events to flow naturally and engagingly. The real-time format really cements you into the vibe of the night. It's not so much about whether or not they'll be able to pull off the show, it's more about showcasing the extreme pressure everyone was under that night. The movie wants to strike you with the same tension that the actors and writers and producers and lighting crew and everyone there were feeling, and it nails it. You could feel everyone getting sick of each other with each passing second until that last moment when the reality of what they were accomplishing finally hits and they all scramble to work it out together. It was fun, it was engaging, it was liberating. It probably didn't happen like that. Like at all. Like all biopics. Is this a biopic? It feels more like a LARP session, but instead of reenacting World War II, it's Saturday Night Live. Is this the most expensive fan film ever made? Anyway, like all biopics, Saturday Night tends to bend reality to its whim a bit. They do the Julia Child joke 2 years before it actually happens. It's not super egregious or a big gripe, but it still makes my eyes roll. And they do the worst thing about biopics that I hate, where they act like the subject is the second coming of Christ. When a movie about Martin Luther King Jr. acts like he changed the world, it's because he did. Lorne Michaels is not Martin Luther King Jr. Saturday Night gets super schmaltzy about the concept of SNL, and it portrays it as this unifying force that is unanimously adored, and NBC doesn't know shit for trying to make it fail. There's this one running gag where they have one guy laying all the bricks for the set as all the other carpenters sit back and laugh at him. And when they're rushing to set up the show at the end, the carpenter leader guy looks around longingly at the chaos around him and stands up and is like, "Well, what are you all sitting around for? Let's help a fellow out." And all the carpenters come together like the end of a Muppets movie. That's the point you feel Jason Reitman get really enthusiastic about his Saturday Night Live fanfiction and forget this is supposed to be real events. Okay, enough complaining. Damn! This cast is fucking amazing. Just unbelievably perfect representation of the varied personalities and wide array of different comedic styles at play. Everyone has a perfect moment to their own, showcasing where each player is coming from when trying to stand out on the show. You get a sense of everyone's background and their relationships, and it comes together to create a perfect storm of chaotic comedic artistry. This is coupled with the production design for a truly immersive, yet still timeless view into the television world of the mid-70s. A fun, energetic, blazing force of frantic, community-driven comedy. I loved it. Except for the Jim Henson disrespect, so actually, fuck you.
Nosferatu!
Nosferatu has like a massive penis, dude. I am quite fond of Robert Eggman and his affinity for telling really long campfire stories. And that's kind of my only issue with Nosferatu. The cast is full of incredible performances, namely Bill Skarsgård, Lily Rose Depp, Willem Dafoe, and Nicholas Hoult. The costume and production design is next level intricate, giving a breathtaking sense of grandeur to this gothic Germany. The cinematography might just be the best of Egger's whole career, especially the way he uses shadows to frame scenes, but the story is just a bit basic, which isn't really a problem per se. It's just, this movie's 2.5 hours long, and by the end I wish it just had a bit more to chew on. Like, I get it's literally just Dracula, but it's twice as long as the original, and I guess I just expected a bit more expanded lore maybe, or a more introspective look at the material that's already there, but you kind of just get more of the same. Now, I'm not saying the movie felt long, not at all. Okay, maybe a bit towards the end, but my point is, the story just fell a little bit short of my expectations, while everything else met or surpassed them. Story has honestly never been Egger's strong suit. His movies play out more like fantasies or bedtime stories rather than like full novels. Nosferatu is still obviously a phenomenal work of passion. Eggers has been talking about this movie before he even made movies, and that momentum holds out through the whole film, with every detail being ironed out to fill his exact vision. It makes for a pretty immersive and spectacular experience overall, just on an artistic level. So Nosferatu may not be Robert Eggers' best film, but it certainly can be considered his magnum opus, and the most elaborate presentation of his vision as a director. Especially the giant penis. Just so many penises in every movie, and they're huge every time. Like, every time. The Bike Riders is a movie made for guys to look at and say, hell yeah. This is a perfect example of the power of a strong cast. Austin Butler, Jodie Comer, Tom Hardy, whatever the hell Norman Reedus was doing, they all excel and elevate the material for beyond what's expected. The performances are not only enthralling, but endlessly engaging. They make you want to analyze every second of screen time so you can fully take in each layer. And the production design and cinematography? Hell yeah. This movie is pretty as hell, dude. I was enraptured with just looking at it. Such poignant blocking and composition. The color grading especially is gonna go a hell of a long way with keeping this movie looking timeless. The Bike Riders is an absolutely excellent breakdown of masculine fragility through an almost Western lens. And I'm definitely putting it in the S tier on my fucked up Tom Hardy accent ranking. Why is it called A Quiet Place Day 1 when most of it is on days 2 and 3? Now, I mean this in the nicest way imaginable when I say it, but I always forget that I like these movies. I blame that whiteboard. I gave that first movie 5 stars. The first movie I saw after theaters shut during the pandemic was A Quiet Place Part 2, but I feel like they didn't have much staying power beyond the exact moment you're watching them. I'm not exactly sitting around reminiscing about like when they sit in that vault for 2 hours, but day 1. Now we're getting somewhere. Much like The Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, A Quiet Place Day 1 takes what could have been an easy cash-in prequel and uses the opportunity to elevate the series to its furthest untapped potential. A human journey about why we survive and what it means to want to live. Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn's performances of their soulful characters bring an excess of both longing, dread, and gratifying hope to the narrative. The dourness of the whole film sinks in even deeper with the connection you feel with the characters. And that goes both ways with making the softness of the calm moments hit like a truck. But like a soft truck. If getting hit by a truck felt nice. You know what I'm talking about. And god damn man, this movie is just so damn nice to look at. So many sweeping shots of the demolished city with such vibrant colors and brilliant use of the sunset and sunrise to shine and shadow the scenery. I was just left in awe with so many of the shots. This is gonna sound like a really stupid phrase, but this movie is unnecessarily pretty. Like, I would have been fine with it just looking like a movie, but that extra input to add so much depth to the cinematography shows the passionate care that was put into what could have been just another franchise film. Even the chaotic creature attacks were very slick and interesting to follow visually. A Quiet Place Day 1 is exciting not just as a thriller, but as a look at the potential big-budget horror can have when you get a creative with a true vision behind the wheel. That fucking cat had so much screen time, should have made them the main character.
I feel like they're clutter. I feel like you don't need them. Let's just see what you look like without... Whoa! You kids are Legos?
I'm sorry you had to find out this way, Mom.
Piece by Piece isn't the first time Legos made me cry. What happens when you take a seemingly average musical documentary and do the whole thing in Legos? Why would you do that? Surprisingly tear-jerking and especially heartfelt in how it portrays the feeling of creation, Piece by Piece hits hard when it wants to. Firstly, it's an absolute beaut to look at. The Lego aesthetic plays a more intricate thematic purpose beyond just being an eccentric presentation that I'm sure would hit a relatable chord for a lot of creators out there. The sense of color is not only a main theme at the film's core, but it's also a showcase of genius artistry. Every single placed brick plays an important piece in the presentation, intricately crafted to create a mesmerizing image of imagination and sound. And by the time they start to delve into the more dire or touchy subjects of the film, you're so used to the Lego look of everything that you can still take the topics at hand seriously. The documentarian elements may seem by the numbers if you've seen the recounting of any other artist's rise, but Pharrell's reminiscing on the cultural response to songs like Happy are powerfully introspective, especially if you remember living through that time. Hearing how he interprets tracks like Happy and All Right after seeing the public reaction to both adds another level of depth to both songs after the fact and makes them even more resonant than when they first dropped. No matter who you are, Piece by Piece is an endlessly charming and charismatic musical expedition that I'm certain will please most anyone. I can't even believe this is a category, but this is officially the best movie of 2024 that features both the Minions and Pharrell Williams music. Okay, now can they release a minifigure series for this with Chase Golden Kendrick Lamar?
Oh, I'm Bob Dylan. Oh, I smoke a brew. Oh, I don't do brew. Oh, I smoke a weed. Oh, I fuck a brew. Oh,
A Complete Unknown is the movie that finally unwraps the fascinating story behind how much of a fucking asshole Bob Dylan is. On all accounts, this movie shouldn't be nearly as enjoyable as it is. It's a by-the-basics biopic about an artist whose work and story is too esoteric to fit into a by-the-basics biopic. But goddammit, I'm just a stupid sucker for musical biopics. I get that they're all literally exactly the same and have been for decades, but it's a formula that I eat up. I down these shits like Krabby Patties. I mean, it probably helps that the greatest actor of our generation is in the lead role. Oh, sorry, I was thinking about Elvis. Timmy's pretty cool too, though. His performance here really solidified for me just how versatile his range is. This same time last year, he was playing Willy fucking Wonka, and he's stellar as both characters. He has this uncanny ability to just completely disappear into a role. Through the whole film, I was saying, that's Bob Dylan doing that. Bob Dylan is singing right now. It was never, Timothy Chalamet is doing a great job pretending to be Bob Dylan right now. And the movie's pretty good looking too, but in a more subtle way than you might imagine. It's not like Dune, where the visuals are practically a selling point. But when you're watching it, it'll just click at some point and you'll realize, oh shit, the cinematography has been fucking great so far, hasn't it? It's kind of hard to describe specifically, but it's very up close and very personal, and it helped frame Dylan as an intriguing figure. I won't deny it can get a bit monotonous with how many performance sequences there are, but the film starts buzzing with energy once they get to the folk festival near the end. That whole section was executed phenomenally from top to bottom and really makes the film in my opinion. A Complete Unknown demonstrates tactful filmmaking craft to create an ironclad, solid biopic that delivers and excels on everything you could want from it. This is the part where I acknowledge that I've seen the movie. I'm not there. It is pretty good. Flo asks the ultimate question. What if there was a movie about a little guy? Flo is one of the most unique animated films of our time, showcasing the beauty of kinship and compassion. This film's animation is unbelievably gorgeous, with such finesse in every moment, paired with jaw-dropping lighting and locations that really do make every frame look like a painting come to life. The way this movie gets you attached to these animals without a single word spoken is some truly wondrous storytelling. Each character feels fully well-rounded and real, with such clear personality quirks that make them so identifiable and relatable. It's a real feat of visual storytelling. Flo serves as a testament to humanity and the strength of caring for one another, showcased through some of the most mesmerizing animation you'll see all year. And a capybara.
Oh, you thought this was a rabbit? They thought this was a rabbit?
Oh, that's funny.
That's fucking funny, bitch. It's fucking Winnie the fucking Pooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck 4th of July.
I don't think I got it, Nora, but hey, it was still pretty good. This is gonna be the first comedy to win Best Picture. Okay, the positives. This is a technologically stunning film. The craft put into it is as impressive as it is astounding. With such a rich color palette, it almost comes off as a daydream come to life. That together with the immaculate cinematography makes a hypnotically amazing looking film. I genuinely couldn't take my eyes off of it for a single second. The screenplay is jam-packed and lively, keeping this long-ass movie feeling alive all throughout. Every actor is fine-tuned to their characters, to the point I can't imagine any of their dynamics or performances being any different. Also, the second act is the greatest thing I've ever seen. It's like 40 minutes of these stupid fucking idiots losing their minds over an even stupider fucking idiot. There's like an entire Buster Keaton movie in the middle of this sex worker drama where these assholes are running around New York throwing up on themselves and drugging each other and getting their car towed and going to 5 different strip clubs looking for the Bill Clinton kid. I think it was the most entertaining sequence I've seen all year. I was smiling like a dork the whole time, just slowly losing it over how absurd they were pushing this. All before bringing it back down for the ending to deliver a deadly final gut punch, but hey, we'll get to that soon, don't worry. So overall, a pretty dazzling and mesmerizing film. Notice how I never mentioned the story? This is the part where I sound stupid. I couldn't fully connect with the character of Enora. At first I thought it was pretty clear that she was only with Ivan for the financial benefits, but as I was writing this I cracked it and now I fuck with it. What a truly heartbreaking character arc. with a poignant and deeply cutting final scene to tie it together. Anora is a true breakthrough of a movie, making a name for itself with a show-stopping performance and a sense of gravitas with its presence. I had high expectations and I still liked it more than I expected to. That guy did not know how to play video games though. What the fuck was he doing to that remote? I saw the TV glow, it made me want to throw up, but like in a good way, you know? Story time, I was fucking terrified for most of this. Not because it's an especially bone-chilling film, but because I was 55 minutes in and realized I didn't like it as much as I expected to. Oh no, I remark. Am I a fucking asshole? But then a funny thing happened. It grew on me more and more and more, and by the end, all I could do was hold my head as life itself became that much clearer to me. Oh, how queer it is to be anything at all. The pain of living someone else's life, the turmoil of yourself being your greatest fear, the euphoric dysphoria of becoming who you are, a film of emotional magnitude, so fearlessly displayed on screen, colored in with nostalgic neon lights, a familiarity I rarely feel in film. A reminder that it's never too late for you to be you. It might just be more than a film. It's an introspective experience for the artist and the viewer. It's an extension of soul. You've always seen the TV glow. You just needed a reminder it was there.
Oh no, not I will survive. As long as I've had my Weetabix, I'll get them all to drive.
We Live in Time is the best love story since Venom 3. This movie could have been Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh watching TV for 2 hours and it would still be this high up. You get two of the greatest working actors together to portray an enlighteningly real story about love and loss, and obviously it's going to produce some movie magic. Their chemistry glues the whole thing together and elevates every scene to a level of tangibility that few others would accomplish. And the lead performances really are the main attractions here. Because while the story is good, it's not exactly a showstopper that's never been seen before. It's like if the story told in all three before movies was condensed into just one film. So you end up losing some of the finer details. We Live in Time is more concerned with delving into the bigger moments of this relationship and only glances over the smaller, more subtly intimate parts. But the characters are so alive, they still end up feeling like you understand what those smaller moments would feel like and what they'd mean. A precisely crafted romance featuring a stunningly inspired lead couple. It was the second best on-screen chemistry I saw from Andrew Garfield this year. Right behind his video with Elmo.
That's for all the clown jokes. That's for never calling just to say hi. That's because I get aroused when I slap people.
Deadpool and Wolverine somehow isn't a massive fucking travesty train wreck piece of shit garbage. Spoilers for a movie from fucking 8 months ago. Deadpool and Wolverine has finally mastered not only the Deadpool film formula, but how to do a multiverse comic book film. Or a live action multiverse comic, you know what I mean. First and foremost, this shit is pretty damn funny. I think it's pretty clear at this point that Deadpool is Ryan Reynolds' best role. He's kind of an annoying little weasel and everything else, but for some reason he just clicks as Deadpool and somehow becomes tolerable. Kind of ironic that his least annoying role is the one that's supposed to be intentionally annoying. He hasn't missed a single beat here, delivering what's easily some of the best comedy of the trilogy. Now, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, none of this is his fault, but I couldn't shake the feeling in the back of my head that this is the other guy while we wait for the real guy to show up. Except there is no real guy and he never shows up, because he died. I mean, the movie really hammers it in that this isn't the Wolverine everyone knows, and they compare them at every turn. But when they have the same face, it gets a little tricky for my brain to separate them. Let's just say on the Hugh list, he's above the Wolverine, but just below Days of Future Past Wolverine and X2 Wolverine. You know, maybe if you didn't have to share his screen time with 20 other cameos at any given time. The fact Wesley Snipes dropped the first slur of the MCU just feels right. I mean, I think he can say it. He's got something going on up there. Every time Deadpool was mean to Gambit, I wanted to break something. And what is the MCU's beef with the Fantastic Four? Every time a member shows up, they die brutally. And they forgot about my favorite X-Men character, Blob. Come on, guys, what the heck? Oh my god. There he is. That's it. Oh, that's it. Oh, and Electro was there too. As a tribute to the long-gone age of pre-MCU Marvel, I maybe would have liked if this showed why those films are so special, and maybe even tried to emulate them more. But as it is, it's still pretty touching and satisfying. The montage during the credits that looked like a TikTok edit, it got me right here. From beginning to end, this is just a blast. It's fun as fuck, and I'm weak to that. I love having fun. It's easily the best Deadpool movie. It's one of the best X-Men movies, and Marvel is fucking back. I can't wait to see how they mess it up. Kinds of Kindness definitely is a Yorgos Lanthimos movie. This gave me so many different feelings, it should have been called Inside Out 2. I was scared, I was laughing, I was confused, I was horny, but most of all, I was just happy this exists. The word visionary gets thrown around to describe anyone who knows how to light a scene at this point, but like, come on. Yorgos is the definition of this. Of the visionary part, not the lighting thing. Though, his lighting is good. Anyway, Kinds of Kindness is Yorgos fully unleashed, given free rein to just make something, resulting in a one-of-a-kind experience that breaks down toxic recognition through 3 haunting, hilarious, unbelievably self-indulgent short films where Jesse Plemons tries to fuck Willem Dafoe. I swear he does it in each one. Plemons is the underlying driving force of the film, bringing a varied and deeply uncomfortable atmosphere to his presence, feeling like he's bursting at the seams with some sort of manic energy. But props must be given to Emma Stone, who once again steals the show with a mesmerizing, almost hypnotizing tone to everything she does. The film brilliantly strings you along by placing Stone in supporting roles until the 3rd story hits, where she completely grabs hold of the wheel. Literally, it sets the traps before grabbing you by the throat and refusing to let go. Plemons and Stone, in tandem with the strides made by Willem Dafoe, Margaret Qualley, and Hunter Schafer, make for an all-timer cast that can be rearranged and mixed in any way and will always produce all-star work. The movie's not all perfect though, as I do feel the pace can majorly slow down from time to time, and the 3 stories aren't made equally, but at almost 3 hours, it's surprising how fast this honestly felt. A deeply unnerving and cynical anthology that also grips you with its hilariously dry tone. While Poor Things may be the overall better film, this is definitely the more fascinating. RMF never did eat that sandwich.
Working in the coal mine, going down, down, down. Working in the coal mine, roof about to slip down.
Sing Sing is a pretty accurate representation of the average high school theater program. What is the purpose of art in an unjust world? When the people in power are working against you, does art only serve as an escape, or can it be an act of liberation? A confirming triumph that tells everyone that you continue to live on. Coleman Domingo is a powerhouse of a lead, with true pathos in his emotions. And Clarence Macklin. God damn. Clarence Macklin's standout, breakthrough performance here is something that feels special to witness. A one-of-a-kind talent that's finally being showcased as the glowing, exceptional achievement that it is. It's something really amazing to see, and that's how I describe Sing Sing as a whole. It's a truly amazing film in every way. It's original and exciting, giving you something you can't find anywhere else. Sing Sing is nothing short of monumental, and one of the standout works of the year that I implore you seek out.
Shh! Your doctor said you weren't supposed to talk! He didn't say I couldn't say!
Wicked is way better than those trailers let on. Seriously, whoever made those deserves to be drug out onto the street and shot. I was the last person that expected me to say this, but I kind of adored this. There's an infectious sense of trembling emotion laden throughout Wicked, one that ropes you in and makes you wish it would never end. I just had an uncontrollable smile appear on my face the whole way through, and I'm not scared to admit that I got a little trembly over how emotional I was at the end. And this is in no small part thanks to Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande's unforgettable performances, which are so grand and powerful in their presence, with a symbiotic chemistry between them that not only holds the whole film together, but pushes it to that next level that makes this a truly theatrical worthy experience. Circling back on the killing the guy that made the trailers thing, what the fuck did he do to the colors? Because the actual movie is rich and vibrant, especially in the Emerald City, with such entrancing lighting that created such an intense energy, all leading up to the show-stopping defying gravity sequence. It's kind of hard to convey just how immensely overwhelming the whole ending is. It's the film hitting down on you with everything it's built to that point, releasing an unstoppable wave of palpable energy that just floors you, and then a smash cut to the to be continued. Ooh, god damn, that's what I'm talking about here. It's not all sunshines and rainbows though. For such an immensely grand and huge film, I sure do wish they didn't get the most work-for-hire director they could find. Why couldn't this be the Oz prequel directed by Sam Raimi? There is a lacking sense of directorial vision you'd want from a project like this, with a lot of basic composition and not much flair to the musical numbers, besides a few choice exceptions. It leads to an overall sense of, that was a really good and effective film, but it didn't do much to stand out visually, you know? But other than that, I was immensely impressed with Wicked, and I'm sorry for all those times I made fun of the trailers, even though it was really funny when I did it. But hey, look on the bright side, and at least it wasn't directed by Rob Marshall.
Every day's go to schools to be the good boys. Every day's go to schools to be the good boys.
I sold my life rights a couple years ago, and now the movie's finally here, and it's called Dee Dee. I don't remember being Taiwanese though, I think they confused me with my sister. This is one of the most realistic, tangible films I've ever seen. Watching this feels like looking back at family videos and reliving the thoughts and experiences you were going through during the most impressionable moments of your adolescence. Here's what I was going through during that time.
Have you seen Luigi? You bring my elf? Oh, lend you some money and paycheck. You're scaring me!
The whole runtime, I was relating back to events in my life that made me act the way I do and how I perceive all the people in my life. I can confidently say there are few movies that got as close as this does to accurately portraying how the world felt when I was growing up. This film's immersion is even further enhanced with all the amazing performances from everyone involved. There's so many unbelievably realistic moments and interactions that continuously blew me away. Not to mention all the subtly compelling arcs each character gets that play out behind the main story. Dee Dee delivers the most visceral display of growing up during the birth of social media and how digital loneliness bleeds into offline life. And uploading shit like this.
Hey SpongeBob, have you seen Luigi? Luigi, that's hilarious!
Well, first time for everything. Yes. What makes you think this is my first time? Oh, Mr. Bond.
Am I allowed to say that? Queer is the second gayest movie Daniel Craig's ever been in. At this point, I'm fully convinced Luca Guadagnino has some fucking wizard magic he uses to make movies because, God, it's so good! There are shots in this movie that are so amazing and mesmerizing and entrancing that I was too busy staring at them and forgot to listen to what the characters were saying. There's a dreamlike quality to the whole look of the film, with the coloring that makes everything look like a memory, and the small bits of CGI that are there intentionally looking just a bit off to convey the high-on-life aesthetic. It's all visually dazzling and does so much to transform a very down-to-earth story into this almost fairy tale-esque journey. And some of these backgrounds have to be painted murals because the real life doesn't even look that good. The way Luca portrays desperate longing, the ghost of a feeling, the temptation for contact, it's one of the most sublimely beautiful concepts I've seen in film. The lengths the one goes to be as connected as possible with the one they're obsessed with. It is some truly captivating storytelling. The third act does drag a bit, not to the point of being uninteresting or anything, but for what happens during it, it probably could have been trimmed a bit. But hey, it wouldn't be a Luca film if it wasn't 20 minutes longer than it really needs to be. Queer is another standout example of why Luca Guadagnino is one of, if not the most exciting director working today. And if his American Psycho adaptation isn't 10 times as gay as this, I'm gonna be sorely disappointed.
Ah, ahoy, ahoy! No, ma'am. A whale! Ah! Yes.
A Real Pain really doesn't live up to the title because it was actually quite delightful. I think this might just be one of the most comfortingly therapeutic films I've experienced. The pulled-back attitude and contained personal scope makes for a movie that's equal parts stressful and cozy. What would usually be seen as a predictable role for Jesse Eisenberg becomes something more layered and innately interesting to engage with when paired with the deeply real and personal self-hatred he grapples with. Kieran Culkin's nonchalant sorrow is mesmerizing to see unfold. He slips into this role flawlessly, playing Benji at a very specific frequency that creates such a unique arc. An interpersonal turmoil that I've really never seen before. Like, I really don't even relate to anything here, to be honest, but there's such a strong passion behind each performance with so much humanity and humor woven into every facet of these characters that it's not hard at all to feel with the message and get fully engrossed into it. Eisenberg's script is simply incredible. Perfectly built with pathos, humanity, reflection, humor, and genuine feeling behind every word. A Real Pain feels like a feature-length therapy session, easing you into comfort before making you bear your genuine emotions. It's a true testament of the human condition, and what it means to love someone by loving yourself.
Oh, so
something wrong, old girl?
The Substance is a film of, well, substance. A horrifically passionate look at women looking at women, brimming with grotesque displays of the natural condition of the human body and how the goblins in Northern California view it. Demi Moore's monumental performance has such an immensity and variety, it could almost be argued that she takes on 3 roles. Or 4? I don't know, where do we stand on the blood slug? Her intense emotions and visceral energy leads to a committed effort to freak you the fuck out that pays off insanely well. Margaret Qualley continues her all-timer run in recent years with another daring showcase of her infectious hold on an audience. Her spiraling hold on reality, keeping you gripped to your seat as the hypnotizing gleam in her eye turns into a frantic desperation for control. Okay, so at what point of that last part did I start sounding like a weirdo? Every scene with Dennis Quaid is just freaky as shit and made me feel like I was going insane. This film's striking direction is a force of nature, sharp as a razor and immensely engaging. And also the last 20 minutes are a fucking nightmare. Is it entirely self-indulgent almost to a fault? Maybe. But have you considered Monstro? A perfect escalation of a perfect concept is always going to be appreciated. We love a movie that ends on the same shot it opens with. A delightfully fucked up and twisted cautionary tale about substance and obsession that only weird people should watch. Sorry, them's the rules. Or weird people should force normal people to watch. That is also an option.
Amazing. A booby trap that actually catches boobies.
Transformers 1 was fucking awesome! The long-needed Shakespearean reinvention of the Transformers world is finally here and it's goddamn incredible. Bringing Cybertron into a fully realized animated world has given these characters and their lives such an amazing amount of depth, most notably, obviously, Optimus Prime and Megatron. The bond they share was so monumental feeling with how gripping and compelling their story is told. Megatron's fall being especially impactful. When he's told the truth about Sentinel Prime and his entire worldview is immediately shattered, his outlook on every single person in his life being irreparably altered, the desire for revenge, the pain in his voice, it's an incredible characterization that keeps him menacing and sentimental at the same time. And Optimus desperately reaching out, trying to pull his best friend away from the tragic path he's on, only to be the cementing factor that permanently changes him into the leader of the Decepticons. That is absolute fucking peak Friend Survival's writing. I am in love with this shit. The entire last 30 to 20 minutes is absolutely jaw-dropping. I started shaking in my chair, gritting my teeth, beginning to levitate in the theater. It was amazing. And of course, the beautiful animation excels the film tenfold, bringing an unimaginable amount of life to this world. Couple that with the funny writing, engaging characters, and precision and care put into everything this movie offers, and we've got the greatest Transformers film in damn near 40 years. And if I don't get those sequels, I'm gonna become Megatron, alright? Don't fuck this up for me. If you thought Unfrosted was too similar to B-Movie, wait until you see... I want to offer a formal apology to Luca Guadagnino. I was unfamiliar with your game. When I saw you attach the camera to the tennis ball, I knew you were on that good shit. Alright, are we ready to give Zendaya an Oscar yet? Between this and Dune, we're watching her put her name in the history books in real time. Her range and intricacies make each of her performances an exciting experience to witness. And I'm willing to wager that Tashi is her most interesting role yet. The conflict, the anger, the disappointment, the longing for the life she lost, all of it displayed with such intricate facial acting you won't find from anyone else nowadays. And then you got Josh O'Connor and Mike Foss matching her freak with their own nuanced, troubled character performances. And you got an all-timer starring cast with unmatched chemistry that weaves this complicated, messy story with perfect pacing and exquisite escalation. I want to have passionate intercourse with this score. Do I need to explain why Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross scoring techno tennis is a good thing? Shit, wait, that's my job. If tennis is sex, then this score is mega sex. This shit is erotic. The way it overtakes the dialogue in some scenes, which would normally be a complaint for any other movie, is a brilliant move here. These tracks portray the character's emotions stronger than words ever could. Loud bass and drums crashing together in furious rhythm in a simultaneous battle for dominance and beautiful dance of synergy. Also, it just fucking slaps. Psst. By the way, Zendaya, I have several hours of Wii Sports experience if you want to come over. Just saying.
Don't mind me, guys. I'm Hitman. I'm just putting this dead body away from earlier. I'll be...
That man is possessed by the devil.
Hitman deserves to be seen on the biggest screen possible, which is why it's only on Netflix. Fuck the enticing dialogue of the Before trilogy with the sexiness of Indiana Jones. Hitman is part of a new genre I'm coining called movie porn. You know how food porn is like videos of really good looking food and all that? Yeah. When I said this had the sexiness of Indiana Jones, I wasn't just talking about the guy from Spy Kids. This is just such a movie, you know? There's palpable filmmaking on the screen. Just look at the notes app scene. Holy shit! It's flawless. What can I say? It's flawless. The setup, the dialogue, the acting within the acting, the direction, the blocking, the fucking lighting too, sure, just everything is perfectly crafted to a T. I swear I started levitating as it went on. It has to be studied. It needs to be studied. Something like this only comes around every so often and deserves to be recognized when it does. It's just such a good fucking movie, dude. This is the shit I live for. Of course, Glenn Powell gives an all-timer performance. Austin Emilio gives an all-timer performance. Glenn Powell gives another all-timer performance, and another one, and like 3 more on top of that. But I think I gotta say my favorite of the film is Adria Arjona. I'm just in awe at the narrative arc of her character, and the subtle psychopathy behind her eyes that you can see at the start that fully spills out by the end. And I'm glad this actress is finally able to shine after being in, ew, ugh, oh no, yeesh. Richard Linklater continues to prove that he's one of the finest working directors that just provides non-stop bangers. And why the fuck was this only on Netflix?
The cartoon's finished, Ren. Would you like to see it?
Look Back wrecked me. The most introspectively real story I've seen about the nature of art and the merit of passion. The consequence of creativity that can drive an artist to leave everything they've worked to in a moment, and the wonder of creation that can bring the passion back to you. Tatsuki Fujimoto's semi-biographical story is told with absolutely amazing animation, with every detail flawlessly expressed with a divine level of craft. There's a deep sense of melancholic nostalgia laden throughout this film, both within its story and its animation. The almost indescribable feeling of a painful good memory, of looking back at the fondest moments of your life with regret. It's the most passionate and authentic exploration of those feelings and how the art created at that time affects the artist I've ever seen. It's an immaculate retelling of learning how to regret, relive, remember, and return to who you once were.
Melvin, Melvin, brother of the Joker. Melvin, Melvin, brother of the Joker. Melvin, Melvin, brother of the Joker. I'm cool.
Hey, I thought I already talked about Joker 2. What gives? Joker trick, bitch! The People's Joker is the greatest superhero movie ever made, which is why you're not allowed to watch it. The most personable, relatable, deeply feeling, and singularly visionary movie I saw this year was the one where Lorne Michaels shits his pants and gets eaten by a plant. The People's Joker serves as one of the most poignant and crucial autobiographies of our generation, depicting a cutting-edge and uniquely razor-sharp story of self-discovery and acceptance. Vera Drew's bold, singular vision leads way to an inimitable film, with such a strong, artistic voice at its center that enforces a feeling of true craft and passion for the story being told. She's the only filmmaker brave enough to have a 20-minute long DVD menu. The People's Joker feels like a life on screen. It's a perfect culmination of humor, turmoil, trauma, love, creativity, and the lifelong experiences that create the individuality of art. Visually singular in its presentation, the use of various mediums in this film creates an endlessly entrancing and engaging language for the film. The world is ever-changing as Joker the Harlequin's life is reinvented several times over, reflecting the creation of her new identity in real time. The People's Joker is an incredible feat of self-expression and is a beautiful experience from top to bottom. And never forget, all comedians are bastards and deserve what's coming to them. Is The Wild Robot DreamWorks' greatest film to date? No, but it's pretty high up there. So like, we're all in agreement that this is pretty much a perfect film, right? Like, perfect to a fault almost, if that can even be a thing. Godly animation, surprisingly superb voice cast, a mature and impactful storyline, compelling themes that are hardly tackled in animated films, a mesmerizing score. Like, it's literally got everything. It even has a clear directorial voice, which isn't extremely common in theatrical animation. But what can you expect from a storied veteran like Chris Sanders, who takes his experience from How to Train Your Dragon to make the wilderness setting feel endlessly expansive and vastly immersive? It's such a lived-in location that you eventually start recognizing patches of land, as if you yourself had intensely explored the area. And all of this is tied together by Roz, one of the greatest protagonists who have ever led a DreamWorks film. Not only does Lupita Nyong'o give a masterfully emotional performance, but the character's journey and thematic development is nothing short of astonishing. The transformation from what's basically supposed to be nothing more than a household appliance into a loving, fully formed mother figure is done so naturally and thoughtfully, I almost can't believe how well they pulled it off. It truly is one of the most realistic character arcs I've seen all year. I hope Transformers 1 enjoyed being the best animated robot movie of 2024 for all of 1 week. I love The Wild Robot, and I feel like it loves me. It is an astonishing, perfectly crafted, and important film. I can't get enough of the perfect run DreamWorks has had recently, as long as you ignore this movie and this one and this one and this and this and this.
Well, my legs are long.
Yes, our legs are long.
And my legs are long.
Yes, they're very, very long.
If I talk about long legs for too long, I'll be put on a list. This film has the devil baked into its DNA, with dread following every second of runtime. The slacked cinematography never lets you get comfortable. Every shot is ever so slightly off-center or claustrophobic, forcing you to nervously scan every inch of the frame to find whatever it is that's freaking you out deep down inside. The sickly color grading is so effectively nauseating, and the sound design makes me feel like I'm gonna die, but, you know, like in a good way. Nick Cage needs to leave me the fuck alone with his fucking face. He's the scariest bitch ever. I fucking hate him, you know, but like in a good way. But Micah Monroe totally steals the movie, though. Eye-twitching, nerve-shaking, finger-scratching, and overall just a real weirdo. You really can never get a hold of what her deal is. Her reactions and emotions are so sporadic and varied that it turns her into an unpredictable force of anxiety. With pitch-perfect aesthetics and a bone-chilling cast, Longlegs permanently sears itself into your psyche, and doesn't let itself be forgotten anytime soon.
My name is Critic, and my world is Mad Max.
Fuck yes! Mad Max is so fucking cool. Furiosa is so fucking cool. George Miller is my god and his saga is my Bible. Jesus said that. Never-ending thrill, never-ending spectacle, never-ending rage, never-ending guzzling. Furiosa is the type of movie that's worth waiting 9 years for. This shit is alive. There is blood pulsating through every second of runtime. George Miller refuses to skimp out on any aspect of the filmmaking process, and it creates these once-in-a-lifetime experiences that we as mortals can only call movies. We didn't think there could ever be another Fury Road. We just got another Fury Road. I think watching these back-to-back will add 20 years to your life. Anya Taylor-Joy finally has a practical use for her large, terrifying eyes. The sheer intensity that she holds in her silence, it's a commanding presence that energizes an already tense film. And then Chris Hemsworth comes out of nowhere and he starts devouring every scene he's in. I don't even know where to start with this guy. I don't understand what he's saying half the time, but I fuck with it. He's just so out of wheelhouse. Is this what being in a real movie for once does to a person? We've come a long way since Men in Black International. I'm just so happy this movie was made. George Miller made the greatest movie ever, so now he has free reign to do whatever he wants. It's so disconnected from all the bullshit that goes into making films nowadays. It's in its own bubble of undisturbed artistry. It's such a powerful, clear vision from one of the greatest working directors. We don't deserve George Miller. Only he could have made Happy Feet 2.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Star Wars has been found dead in a ditch. Dune Part 2 is the movie everyone else will be trying to catch up to. A masterful follow-up so colossal in its expansiveness and depth, it seemed like it would be impossible for Denis Villeneuve to surpass the first Dune in every aspect. But through sheer brilliance in the craft, he's managed to make the first seem like a mere footnote in regards to Part 2. Literally, how the hell did they manage to take an already beautiful looking film and make an even more visually stunning version? This story is so rich with amazement and grips your attention so intensely that it's practically impossible to feel the nearly 3-hour runtime. Every moment is so perfectly paced with how all the scenes flow into the next. It's a marvel in editing and tone. Every actor is on full force, not letting a single syllable slip below the bar. Timothée Chalamet so flawlessly conveys Paul's gradual descent into tyrannism, while also being matched by the heartbreaking powerhouse performance from Zendaya, and those two are just the top of the iceberg. Literally every single cast member grabs the movie by the throat when they speak, taking full control of their scene. I can't believe this movie ends with the promise of going even bigger. Bigger than this? Bigger than the greatest sci-fi blockbuster in well over a decade? Denis needs to be stopped. His swag is too different, and his spice is too strong.
Bitch, I look like Garfield. I look like Garfield. Let me pop that top off. Let me show you how a jar feels.
The Garfield movie was truly and honestly only made for me. An animated Garfield film, which only I have been asking and waiting for. Directed by Mark Dindal, director of The Emperor's New Groove, my favorite Disney movie since I was like 4. The only way it could have been even more directly targeted to me is if they literally asked me to voice Garfield. What the Super Mario Bros. Movie did for Mario fans that were waiting on a faithful and passionate adaptation of their favorite series, the Garfield movie does for Garfield fans. Every frame oozes with love of the aesthetic. The writing is having a blast with indulging in the series' famous irreverent humor. The characters are just as memorable as they always have been, while always being seamlessly infused with a level of depth that's rarely seen from them. And the animation. The animation! I can't believe it took this long for major animated movies to actually look different from each other. The team at DNEG absolutely busted their ass to create what has to be the most stunning and captivating translation of Garfield's visuals in animation. The character acting is absolutely top tier work here, with so many striking poses and facial expressions that make every second a blast to just look at. The artistry is just so soulful and fun. You can feel every ounce of passion from each animator. And the writing may seem cliche on the surface, but with a character like Garfield, the tone and energy is brought to places you won't find in many other studio animated films. It's like this and the Angry Birds movie, and nothing else. There's just a specific laid-back but also zany and out there approach to the world and its stakes. It keeps the movie in line with the character but still engaging. And also it's funny, so that's pretty important too. I just love how much effectively used classic slapstick there is. As the only person who would actually understand all the references in this, each one made me embarrassingly jump over in my seat. I felt like a genius when I realized that the date of the first John comic was the Arbuckle house address. Honestly, I think my favorite part of this movie was its theme of relationships, whether familial, romantic, or platonic. Basically, every character's arc is anchored by the bond they share with another character. Garfield and his father Vic, Garfield and Odie, Vic and Jinx, Otto and Ethel, John and Garfield and Odie. They all spend the film either growing these bonds or re-evaluating them in other ways. It's a strong focus that holds the film with a satisfying, consistent through line. Garfield and Vic's story especially hits hard. And, okay, guys, is it safe for me to admit that I welled up a bit when Garfield first appeared on screen? Like, pardon me, but I did only wait 8 years for this, so seeing it actually come to full fruition filled me with a sense of fulfillment that I didn't waste a literal whole year counting down the days. I laughed, I cried, and I saw Garfield back in the spotlight. I couldn't ask for much more.
Here it comes. And my eyes see.
Alright, having Garfield above Dune is pretty embarrassing. I sure hope my number one is something more respectable. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 saved my life. Alright, Sonic 1. Somewhat typical kids movie, but has enough unique flavor and earnestness to elevate it into something special. Sonic 2 makes Sonic 1 look like a bitch. Sonic 2 is badass and is a perfect evolution of what Sonic 1 establishes, and fuck you, I like the wedding plot, but also, there is clear room for improvement. They're like this close to getting the quintessential theatrical Sonic experience, but it'd be a miracle to actually pull it off, so I can't expect too much from the holy shit. I've always said adding Shadow the Hedgehog to any piece of media improves it tenfold. Sonic 3 serves as a masterclass in video game adaptation and a complete understanding of its audience. The way this movie adapts the story of Sonic Adventure 2 to fit within the previously established lore of the prior films practically flawlessly is nothing short of dark wizardry that it works as well as it does. Shadow's relationship with Maria has never felt more tangible, with her being the only sign of human comfort in his life of torture and containment. A light shines even though the star is gone. Why the fuck is a line that good in a Sonic the Hedgehog movie? And even Robotnik, of all characters, gets a tragically bittersweet character arc as well. Gerald hitting him with the "You're no Maria" is absolutely devious work. I would have disintegrated him too. I think the main reason this film's narrative is so effectively engaging is because of how fine-tuned the pacing is. I was concerned at first seeing that runtime and how much shorter it was than Sonic 2 despite having so much more ground to cover, but it turns out it's so much shorter because they cut out any and all possibility for bullshit. As soon as the movie starts, literally the first scene, boom, we go straight into it. Shadow escapes, Team Sonic has to go stop him, and the pace just never slows down after that. Each scene flows into the next seamlessly, kind of like going from one level of a video game to the next. Oh wow, would you look at that? But it's never too quick to where the plot feels underdeveloped. They know when to let moments and information breathe. It's such a surprisingly tight, clever, and resourceful script for a movie called Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Also, this movie's like actually funny. Like the other two were cute, got some smiles, a couple exhales maybe. But Sonic 3 has genuinely well-written funny jokes, obviously mostly from Jim Carrey, but even some of the smaller pieces of banter between characters got a laugh from me. Speaking of characters, ooh, this movie has 200 characters and they're all the best character. Sonic has an intriguing and mature character arc that satisfyingly cements his story over all 3 films. Tails doesn't do the weird obsessive Sonic stalker thing and now stands as his own character that has his gadgetry perfectly implemented into the story. Knuckles is able to still be comic relief without coming off as stupid and actually gets one of the best scenes of the whole movie showing how much he's evolved from Sonic 2. Robotnik's character manages to feel new with a sense of manic desperation for comfort added to his comedic outburst, even when it's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen. Gerald is a convincing, sinister, redemptionless asshole that deserved what he got. And then there's Shadow, who without a doubt has to be the most well-written character in the whole trilogy. There's so much clear passion and care put into his story and character, and it comes through in every scene. Hell, even his comedic moments don't feel out of place. Except maybe for Revenge Guac, that veered a bit close to self-parody. When Shadow talked, I didn't hear Keanu Reeves. I heard Shadow the Hedgehog. That's how flawlessly adapted his character is. It's like he was just directly transferred from the games into the movie. This movie also mimics Sonic Adventure 2 by having the greatest ending of all time. It's like as soon as Shadow rocked Tom's shit, the air in the theater shifted and everyone realized they were in for a generational third act. Sonic and Knuckles about to fight over the Emerald, Sonic sniping Shadow out of the Eclipse Canyon and punching his ass to the fucking moon, Sonic and Shadow both going super and literally hitting each other across continents, that utterly beautiful conversation on the moon, leading into a top 5 hardest dap-up of all time as this fucking killer rendition of Live and Learn sets in, culminating in this fucking amazing fight scene that is once again a brilliant adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2's final boss fight. Like, come on! The last 40 minutes of this film damn near made me levitate in my seat. I almost fucking threw up in anticipation, just shaking like a freak, witnessing this gorgeous passion project of a final act. In that moment, I was 5 years old again, delving into this addictive, exciting world of electric cartoon mammals that say catchphrases and do cool poses. It was everything I could have asked for from an adaptation of one of my favorite games of all time. And then some. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is a masterfully done tribute to everything Sonic Adventure stood for. It has an infectious flair, a fascinating narrative, an addictive cast of characters, an invigorating soundtrack, and a hell of a lot of heart behind it. It's like a gift back to fans for letting this series survive past that. Everything this movie does is a confident burst of energy to cement Sonic as a film-worthy franchise, and to show why it has endured for this long. I adore Sonic 3, and at this point, I don't even need Sonic 4 to be better. I've gotten everything I could want right here. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is a dedicated, passionate, genuine, amazing piece of art.
Pro tip: if you're gonna take a shot at the fastest creature in the universe, you better not miss.
I'm just living